The cars are heading out onto the circuit from the pit lane for the touring car and smaller GT classes. We've got the D1A2, A3, Cup 1 TCR and GT4 cars for their crack at this challenging, much more challenging circuit than one might think. The cars have got a limited amount of time, just half an hour, in terms of getting out there and getting done what needs to be done. And Graham, who are we going to see at the sharp end of the field here?
Well, amongst that gaggle of classes, if you like the fun-sized classes here at the Dubai 24 Hours, it is just 46 cars out on track for this one, John. That's probably about 4 times a decent grid for most national series in most national markets around the world. So it's still going to be quite crowded, but we're going to see a wide variety of cars. Those watching on the video stream at the moment, watching on the Ginetta G55s that have seen a huge amount of success in this race in recent years. Black Falcon here with Caymans, Porsche Caymans galore are going to be on track. Lots of touring cars, large and small. The Renault Clio's at the smaller end of those. The TCR cars, and what wonderful things they look around here, are going to be at the sharp end of that. We're going to see some names as well. Sebastian Bleekemolen is out on track. Jan Mardenborough, there's a man whose career started here at the Dubai 24 Hours, and what great things he's gone on to, and what lies ahead for what could be a very exciting 2017 season for the young Briton, one of the early winners of the Nissan GT Academy. So lots of names, lots and lots of different cars that are going to be lapping very quickly here. The first, of course, competitive laps of the weekend for the 24-hour series cars. And in the next session, by the way, lest we forget, there will be a world competitive debut of a car. We'll talk about that one a little later.
Oh yes, it's 2 actually.
No, only 1.
What? Competitive debuts?
Correct.
The M4?
Yes.
And your favourite car?
Which one?
The one that there's only 1 of.
Oh no, that's a different kettle of fish. Different kettle of fish. I thought we were talking about a TCR car which has raced before.
Oh right, okay, no. I was talking about the M4. That is a world competitive debut.
That is a world competitive debut.
It's actually running out of homologation. It hasn't been homologated yet, which is why it's running in SPX.
Absolutely, but it's the Schubert Motorsport Run BMW M4 GT4, a customer car for next year. Would you believe? Already
out testing, and without any camo on it either now, other than the back window, trying to keep the sun out of it. Didn't have a great last session actually. Couple of fuel leaks. And I did notice that the manager of the team was being asked to get down to race control.
Absolutely. Mike Simpson out in this session in the number 178 Ginetta. Ended up as a winner in class last night after some time adjustments in the Graf Racing Ginetta G57, the last of 3 Proto Series preview races ahead of the 12-hour races later this year. But Mike is out there. George Richardson in the 152. So some recognisable names, some exciting looking race cars. If touring cars floateth your boateth, then there's plenty of those out there, and the little sports cars too. A bit of an off at the moment, running wide for one of the Seats. Can't see the number quite from here. And
well, look, Graham.
It's I just saw a TV picture.
Ah, okay.
So we're going to start to get competitive times through pretty soon. And the first throw is Stuart Lynn in the 231 car. Stuart, again, raced here before. It's a 212.422 for the 231.
Jack Mitchell goes through in the 229 to take provisional pole position for SP3. These are the GT4 cars.
That's the 229 is the Century Motorsport car, another team, by the way, that's been competing in both the prototype race and this full 24-hour race grid. 231 second at the moment, and that's another car that's been in team that's been in prototype series action. Optima Motorsport actually won the second race overall with their new Ginetta G57 P2. So it's a pair of Ginettas top of the pile at the moment, ahead of the 243. That is a car in the hands of Gabriele Piana. And the 243 is the first of the Black Falcon cars. It's the new GT4 Porsche Cayman. That car going through in a 212.818.
Andrew Cooksley asking, says it's early morning here, brain not functioning fully. He's tweeted at DSC editor and asked at Specultainment. Don't forget to use, by the way, the hashtag 24H series. What's the difference between a G4 Ginetta G55 and the G50? Engine size?
There's a lot of differences. It's a lot of aero work that's been done on it, so it's completely different body work on that car. Far more.
The 55 has got the bigger arches as well. It looks a bit more meaty and it's got a much bigger rear wing.
55 looks like a G50 that's been in the gym and has got a bit of a bad attitude problem.
Yeah. It's got love and hate tattooed on its knuckles.
Cracking little race car. I mean,
what, the 55?
You've driven one.
I've driven an endurance car in a sprint series, and it was still competitive. Not the driver so much, but the car. A very clever air conditioning system that only works when you're off throttle, so you're not robbing the car of any power when you need the oomph. And that round here will work very, very well.
Well, the Ginettas have
very
had
well
success
put together.
Here.
Yeah, they're class winners here.
They are indeed. So it's 1-2 for the Ginettas at the moment. Stuart Lindau's pitted straight away after setting that second fastest time. Then Gabriele Piana, my apologies, in the first of the Black Falcon cars. 267 goes through. Kevin Tay in that car. And that is another of the Porsche Caymans. It's one of the GDL Racing Team Asia cars.
Let's keep an eye up on the other classes as well. Oscar Sandberg for the 151. That's the Bonk Motorsport car. So, no, it's not. It's the Zorg Rennsport car. Excuse me. Bonks are 145 and 146, aren't they? Zorg have got a couple there. That's the BMW M235 class. Now, that was a car that was built by BMW Motorsport.
Absolutely.
Mainly for VLN racing on the Nordschleife, but has gone into other bits and pieces. The Audi on its way out of the pit lane for its first crack at it.
Am I right that one of those Cup 1 cars finished on the overall podium, the 25th of Silverstone last year? I think it did.
Yeah,
Motorsport had the car out. New fastest lap of the session goes to Mike Simpson in the number 178 car. Another Ginettas. That's the CWS's Colin White's car. So a man
with Brandon Gintovic in that car.
Absolutely. And Jan Mardenborough takes the 1-2-3 Team RJN Nissan to second place. Both those cars under 210 already. So it's 208.835 for Mike Simpson. It's a 209.312 for Jan Mardenborough. So we're getting a bit of variety up there. First the TCRs, meanwhile, into the top 5. And that's Sebastian Blekemolen in the
100 car.
Absolutely. That's a Seat, isn't it, that one?
Yes, it is. That car was bossing the Silverstone 24 hours for a very long time until it expired in the most ignominious circumstances. Proper old-fashioned turbo blow, I seem to remember.
It was certainly doing a red hours impression down the main straight, wasn't it? It happened very suddenly. Awful luck for that team.
A3 leader at the moment is the number 908 team Ultron Peugeot 208 GTI in the, I think, very catching matte dark grey and sort of a raspberry juice colour.
Stylish, those French, I tell you.
Coupe fraîche, they call it, I think. Quite a lot of the sport cars, you can buy them in those colours on the street as well. And in A3, it's the 133, and that is the PB Racing. That's the Italian Lotus Elise Cup, with a little bit of tweaking from the PB Racing team.
Quicker again from both the top men and both into the 208s now. Mike Simpson down into 208.153, retains provisional pole in SB3G. Jan Mardenborough down into 208.908 now.
Yeah, Simpson heading down through the S's into turn number 6. He's got a bit of traffic in the rather more sedately liveried CWS than we saw in the G57 P2, which was a very fetching, I thought, a combination of metallic teal blue and gold, which are the CWS colours. This is a black car with the CWS logos and some highlights on it, and 4 very bright LED light bars.
Yep. Closes in and passes the number 152 car down the back straight in pursuit of further improvement. He's improved in sector 1, But new third-place car in the order. It's another SP3G car. It's Nathan Freak this time, the 229 car. That's another of the Century cars.
The 152, by the way, is a BMW, another one of the Zorg Rennsport cars.
That is George Richardson.
That's the fastest car, isn't it?
Yeah, that's George Richardson. Not anymore. George improving his time at the moment. That is third.
Yes, he's been usurped by Oscar Sandberg, who's come into the pits in the 151. So it is the Zorg cars have first and third in Cup at the moment. Jimmy De Bruyker in the 154, which is the QSR Belgium entered Cup car. And Ginetta is very quick indeed towards the end of the lap, coming down to the final section, carving its way past the Optimum car, similar car from Optimum, just going to drop in behind it now and follow it down the main straight. That's a really smart thing to do. The red, white and black Optimum Motorsport car across the line for Simpson, 207.812. Wow. Another fastest lap. Jan Mardenborough 208.9 last time around. Now will Simpson go for another lap, and more importantly, will he drag that Optimum car around with him, Graham? That's not the worst thing to do if you're the Optimum driver, so long as Simpson stays on it.
Yeah, Mardenborough pits at the end of that lap. No improvement coming there. There's no one that knows more about these Ginetta cars than Mike Simpson. He is a factory driver, he's full-time employee, and he's going to say that.
Commentator. Turn 6.
Half spin, I'm afraid, for Mike Simpson, leaning on it just a little too much.
Turn 6 came in a bit too fast and tried. It's a really important part of the circuit there, Graham. You rattle through 4 and 5, the chicane, and you straight line those, and you are just feathering the throttle and the brake as you he had to. Right, that's not Mike's fault. He is pinching the corner to avoid the Seat further out.
Yeah.
So he's had to turn the wheel more than he wanted to, which has induced the rear end to come around more, and at the speed that he's going, which is the ragged edge of adhesion and then a bit, there's just nothing he can do. It speaks volumes, by the way, about the Ginetta, that he could put more lock into it at that point, and it didn't just understeer on, it did actually modify its line. But at that point, the inertia from the back end and the swinging motion took over, and eventually, I'm afraid, physics won out, and Mike was facing partially the wrong direction. He'd be annoyed there because he was on a half-decent lap.
Absolutely. Still retains the provisional pole position in SP3G. It's the CWS Ginetta from the 123 RJN Nissan. Then Nathan Freak in the first of the Century cars. Then it's Stuart Lynn in the second Century G55. Daniel Ross now up into 6th position.
Yeah, Stuart Lynn was in the Optimum car that was behind Mike when he spun, and he's just popped up into 4th position. So he did get a decent early part and managed to avoid the spinning 178 car. I just wonder if there's maybe a flat spot or two on those Hankook tyres from the CWS car as Mike comes into the pit lane.
And he's had his last lap time deleted for track limit, so he's back down to a 2:08.1. So the target for everybody else comes back a little by about 3/10. So Mike was pressing on very hard, and apparently a little too hard there.
Nathan Freak's car is going into the pits, but not into the pit. That car looks like it was cast from solid billet yesterday, doesn't it? It is absolutely shining like only a shiny thing can. We're losing sunlight here. New set of Hankooks about to go on that car.
So SP3 GT4 cars are 1 to 5. Then it's the first of the TCR, still in the hands of Sebastian Blaker-Mullen's number 100 Seat. James Kay, meanwhile, moves up to 13th overall. A man doing double duty, remember, with the TCR Middle East Championship in the same car, the number 108, the Audi RS3 LMS. Second competitive outing for that car after a race in the VLN.
By the way, it was Nathan Freak who did the time in the 229 car. The timing screens just catching up with what was going on. Bruce Jones down in the pit lane with Mike Simpson.
Mike Simpson, it was going so well, fastest. In fact, you just had your fastest time taken away for exceeding track limits, but you're still top. Talk us through the spin, though.
Well, there was a Seat, I don't know what he was doing. He sort of went offline a bit, going very slow. He may have been on his outlap, I don't know. Didn't look at his mirror.
Is it in turn 6?
Turn 6, and you know, I'm coming in there committed. I've got Nathan Freak behind me. We're both on, you know, pull each other around. Let's get the Ginettas up there, and it's just a car there. So it was either plough into him or put the car into a spin. So yeah, is what it is. I think I've just had my quickest time deleted because I nibbled a bit at turn 2. It's my fault, but it's qualifying. So the car's good, car's strong. Colin White and his team CWS have done a great job and prepared a good car for the race. So that's the important thing.
Exactly so. Thanks, Mike.
So pretty much as I said then, mate.
Yeah. Okay, turn down the smoke. Come on. But you're absolutely
hey,
right.
listen, when it comes to racing driver excuses, I might not have the pace, but I've got the excuses down to an absolute T.
Spot on, but it's absolutely right. Meantime, something more than nibbling the corner there from the number 108 James Kay rejoins the track after an off-track moment in the Audi.
That was cutting right across the bottom of the back corner at turn numbers 8 and 9. We have got 13.5 minutes to go. We're live trackside in sound and vision. RadioLeMans.com, bringing you qualifying for the touring cars and the GT4s. One of the things that should point out to you with the GT4 cars is that they do have standard wheel nuts. They don't have centre lock wheels.
Yes.
So when you see the GT4 versions of the Ginettas having their wheels changed, they'll tend to have a single wheel gum, but they're doing 5 or 4 studs. I think they're 5 stud wheels actually, from memory.
Meantime, first the Porsches now in the order with it's Ginetta, Nissan, Ginetta. 111 just pops into, that's the Lotus. The little Lotus goes up into 6th position overall in the current standings in this session. Adam Knight aboard the Track Club Lotus Evora GT4. That's just edged the first of the Porsches down, but it doesn't because the 241 improves straight away. Daniel Rust going up into 5th position in the order. And that will be 5th in SP3 GT4 as well. That's the Alpha Racing Porsche GT4 Club Sports.
Nice to see Dan Wheeler qualifying the number 303. Dan, the driving force behind the clothing company Dread, from middle of England, and Milton Keynes. He's in the Red Camel Jordan.nl TCR Seat, which has just been out in TCR qualifying.
Absolutely. And
the issue with that is that it was running different tyres and different ride height and a different minimum weight as well.
That's a quick bit of turnaround. New pole sitter in the TCR class. It goes to Matthias Special.
That's the
100 car. That's Blinkermolen.
That's the fastest TCR car going around on the exit of turn 6.
Not the fastest TCR car, because to pole in TCR, and he's probably just got that message, which is what caused the spin. It's Matthias Besch in the Modern Motorsports.
I'm not going to get used to seeing Matthias Besch in a Seat.
He was in a Clio last year, wasn't he?
Yes. Modern Motorsports Seat.
Absolutely.
It's Matthias Besch Modern Motorsports, fine. Matthias Besch Seat.
Yeah. Now, if you think that problem's just changing ride heights and the kind of the feel of the tyres, he's just come back from Daytona, where he set, I think, the 2nd or 3rd fastest time at the Raw before the 24 hours in an Orica LMP2 coupe. So he's quick in both those things.
What about Brandon Godovic jumping in and out of 3 different cars this weekend? I'm tremendously impressed with that young man.
Excellent stuff.
Simpson's in the pits, but has a handy lead, round about 0.8 of a second. Jan Mardenborough in second, so it's the 178 Ginetta leading from the 123 Nissan. Just goes across the line to start another lap in second. Nathan Freak, by the way, it was, who was following Mike Simpson, as we heard Mike saying, trying to tour them round to get the front row lockout for the Ginetta brand. Then Stuart Lynn in the 231 in 4th position. All of these are GT3 cars, down to 7th position. And then we've got the first of the TCRs, which is that Seat of Matthias Besch and the 216 from Sebastian Blinkermolen in a similar car, the 100, by half a second or thereabouts.
Blinkermolen, by the way, pits after that spin.
Not surprised. A3, Guillaume Romain, familiar name in the Ultron 308 Peugeot. So I saw they were running a 208. That is the 208. The 308 is rather confusingly a 208. Why they didn't do that with one of the other numbers, I'm going to get that wrong all weekend. 4 o'clock in the morning, that's not going to be remembered, is it?
A2, meanwhile, in the hands of Jakob Christensen in the number 171. There's another Peugeot, it's the RCZ, of course.
Ah, yes. That's an A2 car as well, isn't it?
And Cup 1 at the moment in the hands of Stefan Epp in the 151 car. That's one of the Zorg Rennsport cars.
Correct.
The BMW M235i's.
Jan Mardenborough behind the wheel of the Nissan up at turn number 12 at the moment. Got to get the lock wound off nice and early there. He'll dive down the hill. Now let's hope we can stay with him nice and calm behind the wheel as he comes to the kink at 13, goes all the way to the right hand side of the road, doesn't go all the way to the curb because he needs to be back on the right hand side for turn 14, braking all the way into the apex, then let the car breathe, then drag it back for the second part of the corner, get the car as straight as you can as you head towards turn 15 because you go across a rise. And a moment or two ago, problems for the 245 Porsche Cayman, the Slide Sports car. Now we saw this car out in the Abu Dhabi 12 hours. Slide Sports with speedway racing background, hence the name, and that looks to me as though that car is heading off up the hill link there, the club link.
Yeah, Josh Cagill at the wheel of that car. That is at the moment, where is Josh in the order? 16th in the order overall. The way down in the GT4 SP3 GT4 class. Improvements underway though, and the first of them I think has come, has it not? It has. Jan Mardenborough has got closer to Mike Simpson's time. 8 minutes to go in the session. He's just put in a 2:08.471, 3/10 back now from the pole position car in GT4, which sits in pit lane at the moment. Improvement as well, or is it an improvement for Stuart Lynn? 2:09.725 for the 231 car.
That's his best lap. His last lap was a 2:11. So not an improvement there.
And meantime, improvement fourth in TCR for Daniel Wheeler, the 303 car.
Don't call him Daniel. Only his mum calls him Daniel, and that's only when she's annoyed with him.
Sorry, Dan.
Matthias Pesch out in the front-wheel drive car, the Seat, and he is heading through turn 10 towards the kink at turn 11. He's got traffic ahead of him. Clearly see the driver identification. Thank you, Graham. Lost for words there for a moment.
That, or they've got their own playlist on the stereo in that. But I suspect you're the right one.
I tell you what, it's a good job I wasn't driving that car because I was on the wrong part of the track entirely. He's on the back straight now, which looks very long indeed in that car. Now he's probably pulling well over 120, 130 miles an hour, and yet it looks like he's standing still.
Lifted off. No, he has lifted off. He's cruising. He's definitely cruising because somebody just blew by him in a green BMW.
Now he's going through turn number 10. Turn 11, you let the car drift to the middle of the track on the exit and then tighten it in for turn 12. Yeah, I don't think he's on full power here as he comes up to 12 downshifts. Careful on the exit, he's letting people through here. I think he's looking for a bit of space on the circuit, maybe to go for another lap, Graham, and he's cut back on the inside of the Porsche that's just gone by him. Comes down to turn 13. He's having a look in his mirror on the left-hand side to see where that Porsche is as he's building up speed. The time ticking away. He's been on the lap. A little bit of a loss of grip from the rear end in 14 there. Revving up to about 6,000 revs. Snatching at about 6-7 the next gear and comes down the final corner now. He stays out, so he is going to go for another lap. Let's see how he tackles turn 16. It's difficult because it's a very, very late apex indeed, and you run all the way out to the curb. And he's still looking to see where that Porsche got to. He goes underneath us now. So across the line then for Matthias Pesch, going over the top of the brow. Look for your braking point. Down into turn 1, the road falling away from you. Very difficult indeed to spot the point that you need to hit the curb. Right up on the curb in turn 2 and then get it hauled across to the left-hand side of the road because turn 3 comes up that quick. Balance the car super quick through here and then get it nice and straight through the chicane. You want to try and get the wheel straight and right up in the middle and then straightened again before you turn hard to the right for turn 6. You can let the car breathe just a little bit after you've taken the apex through 7, 8, 9 come together, and it's that banked part of 9 that you can really get the car tucked down into and get the power on super early. Even the front-wheel drive car had to have a lot of lock on there from Matthias Besch as he came out, and that will have scrubbed off speed and momentum. Now down the long middle straight, down towards turn 10. Take a breath, look at your gauges. Am I shifting up at the right point? Is everything working? Do I need to scratch my nose? Now onto the brakes, down 1, 2, 3, 4 gears, turn in, wait, now get the power on, unload the lock, and keep the car in the middle of the road for turn number 11. Take a little bit of curb, but not too much. You don't want to unsettle the back end. Traffic ahead now. Which way do you go, left or right? It's going to be down the inside. That'll compromise your entry to turn 12. Not too bad a thing. You can run out a little bit wide, but don't lose all of the grip as you come over the top of the rise. Now down to 13. 13, set yourself up on the right-hand side of the road. Turn in, just suggest to the car that it's going to come in and let the car drift. Again, you're braking very, very late, just on the change of tarmac there. Wait and pull the car back to the inside. All 4 wheels on the curb pretty much as you square off the corner and head for 15. Say out ahead of him that he needs to be down the inside of here going into turn 16. Looks like a decent lap for Besch in the Modena Motorsports car. 16 compromised his entry there, and this is not, I think, going to be his best lap. He's had too much traffic. A very busy lap indeed for Matthias Besch as he crosses the line and goes through to click off another lap.
He does improve his time, but loses a position because of an improvement from 2 of the GT4 cars. Nico Verdonk in the 86 Pro Sport Porsche, Caitlin Wood in the 246. That's one of the Reiter Engineering KTMs. Both improve just as Matthias Besch improves his time, but he does give himself a little more breathing space ahead of Sebastian Bleekemolen. And Besch is now the bottom car, if you like, in the top 10. All the 9 cars ahead of him, GT4 cars. Then we've got the leading 2 TCRs, a couple more of the SP3 GT4 cars, and then a couple more of the TCRs. Still in the classes as they were, John. A couple of movements up and down in the GT4 cars at the sharp end of the field. It's still Mike Simpson on provisional pole. 2.5 minutes to go. From Jan Mardenborough has closed that gap. Stuart Lynn has improved up the order courtesy of Nathan Freak losing his fastest lap time just a few moments ago, and now up into the top 5 for the first time. The 111 car, that's the Track Club Lotus Evora. Jamie Stanley at the wheel of that car.
Yeah, Matthias Besch still in pole provisionally for the TCR class, in 10th overall from Bleekemolen sitting in behind him. In A3, Guillaume Roman in the 208 GTI for Ultran leads that from Yusuf Basil in the 908, which I think is a 308. Why didn't they number them the other way around? No, that's another 208.
I can tell you it's definitely not a 908.
No, it's another 208. Yeah, but it's a good Peugeot number. I like
Absolutely.
that. That I don't have a problem with.
The Nico Verdonk Pro Sport Porsche has lost 8th position to Caitlin Wood in the 246 car. That is the Reiter Engineering GT4 version of the KTM Crossbow Coupe.
So what else have we got? Cup 1, 3 Cup 1 cars tied together in 24th on down. Stefan Epp in the 151 has the provisional pole position at the moment for Zorg Rennsport. In A2, Jakob Christensen is in the pits in the RCZ Peugeot, the team K-Reicher. And I think that's your lot, isn't it, as far as the classes is concerned?
Yes, indeed. In this session, we have
no diesel classes here, but we have got diesel cars, haven't we?
What they normally do with a very small entry for the D1 class is to reclassify them into one of the
into an A2 or an A3.
Indeed, correct.
Yeah. Okay, that seems sensible.
Nathan Freak, 209.269 is the leading car still out on circuit in the top 4, and the only one in the top 4 still out on circuit.
Jamie Stanley's out there though in the number 111 Lotus, and he's got past a bit of traffic in the early part of the lap. Now, can he make that count and improve the time of 2:0? What's that? Is that a 7?
It's a 9.
9, okay. 2:09.885.
Jamie Stanley improved a couple of laps ago, pushing very hard. What a lovely livery those Hankook corporate colours make.
Works really well on the Evora. I'd like to see more people with the Evora GT4. It's a good little package.
Well, you'll be seeing more of one of those cars, I think, later in the season, with Koroiser due to bring his Lotus back for a couple of the races, I believe. End of the session.
Oh, Nathan Freak's on a quick one in the 2:29. He's nailed sector 1, and that's his fastest lap. So the 2:29, I wanted to say Corvette for some unknown reason at all, because it sounds just like Ginetta. Sorry, 2:29 Ginetta is out there and looking to improve, maybe to get on the front row. Doesn't need a lot of time to be able to move up the times for Nathan Freak in that red, white and black Ginetta. We'll just wait for Nathan to come around and complete his lap.
James Kay improves the time in the 108 Audi RS3 LMS, the brand new Audi TCR car, third quickest, 2:12.820, third quickest in class, 13th overall. Just watching Nathan Freak's times as this lap comes through. Some further improvements further down the order.
And let's go down to the pit lane for some driver comments at the end of the first part of qualifying.
Yeah, with Jan Mardenbury, Jan tried very hard, but second.
Yeah, second position. Happy, but you know, 3/10 to pole would have been great. But Ginetta was too strong. But tomorrow, when is it? Tomorrow? 24 hours, so a long race, and yeah, we'll be there. We've been pretty quick all weekend, all 4 of us. So you know, it's a new GT. We have the new GT Academy drivers here with us. Last year's winner, Johnny Gundy from Mexico, and getting everyone up to speed. And it's nice to be back in a sports car. Nice to be back in the GT4. Last time I was here was 5 years ago now. So yeah, it's quite close. It's nice to be. All the cars are pretty close together. So I'm hyped for the race tomorrow.
Confirmed in the second, Nathan Freak avoided his last lap. It's been a bit of a crazy ride of the last 5 years for you, isn't it? Almost P1, lots of single-seater.
Yeah, almost P1. But in general, you know, the experiences that I've had, the cars that I've driven, you know, LMP1, the front-wheel drive Nissan, and Super GT in Japan last year, alongside Formula 3, LMP2, you know, lots of different machinery. So to jump back in the GT4 car with RJN Motorsport, yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
Thanks, Jan.
Well, will we see him stepping up to GT500 drive in the Super GT class this coming season? He's just been voted Rookie of the Year by a very well respected independent media outlet in Japan. That's which is very, very good news indeed. Might be trouble there for the 235 M235i cruising around to the pits.
So that is the confirmation then, 0.3 of a second, just under, from Mike Simpson to Jan Mardenborough. Nathan Freak in third for Century Motorsport, ahead of Optimum Motorsport, Stuart Lynn, then Jamie Stanley for the Track Club Concerned by Schouten, and Frederick Russ in 6th and 7th. Top 10, well, separated by nothing at all, really. Best of the TCR cars in 10th position was Matthias Best, just ahead of that Team Blake-Molen car. Looking further down, Guillaume Romain, the best of the year. 3 cars for Peugeot and Team Ultran in 19th position. And into the 20s, another class pole sitter further down for Zorg Rennsport in the Cup 1 category for the BMW 235i's. The Peugeot RCZ, who take a pole position in Class A2. Graham, your thoughts?
2 things. We've got 235i that has actually stopped out in circuit, will require a bit of a tow, I think. And we should also note, John, that there are 4 cars on the entry that did not make it out into the session in those classes. There's the number 57 car. That's one of the TCR machines.
And before Johnny steps in for me, I will shoot down to Nick Damon with the... with Matthias Besch, pole sitter in TCR and 10th overall. Pretty good.
Matthias, great performance in the TCR, 10th overall. You were trying to wring this thing's neck. Was that the best you could do?
Yeah, well, the team did a great job because we had a lot of work, and last minute we were allowed to take out some ballast, all the TCR, so it was really, really tough for the team and struggling to put fuel in. So it was pretty an intense qualifying. There was a lot of car. Actually, I could have do a 210. But yeah, so much traffic, but we're still very happy to be 5/10 clear of the other TCR, and now it's the best to start a 24 hours race to be on pole, but long race to go actually, so it's going to be difficult for everyone.
How easy is it to dial yourself in? A week ago, it was freezing cold in Florida, and you were in a P2 car going very quick round a bank circuit. Now it's lovely and warm, but you're in a saloon car.
It's fantastic, you know. Last year I drove the Clio. Everybody was pretty surprised because I was doing the LMP1 and I came here for Clio. But you know, I'm having fun in every car, and actually it's also a challenge. There is some good team, you know, so good drivers, which I respect a lot. And every series is very competitive, so coming into that is not an easy thing. And for sure, it's much more easy to drive than a P2. I won't lie, but I'm also taking a lot of pleasure with my friend here, and I'm a perfectionist, so I try to do my best, and I want to win.
So thanks. Well done.
Thank you, guys.
The enthusiast Matthias Besch, and clearly showing that he's lost none of the skills he's developed in world-class prototype sports car racing, Johnny, at the wheel of a TCR touring car.
So it's the qualifying for the Dubai 24 hours at radiolemans.com, and Johnny Palmer moving into John Hindhaug's spot to anchor this session along with Graham Goodwin.
It's half an hour more of qualifying action to come, Johnny, and this is where we get into the big boys. It's the A6, the GT3 cars, SPX, SP2, the 991 and 997 Porsches. It's going to be no less busy out there. Something around 50 cars due out on track. And this is where we find out, particularly from the pro cars at the top of the order, just how quickly this year a GT3 car will go around this Dubai Autodrome circuit, losing daylight reasonably quickly, and certainly temperature will be coming down a little. Some of the cars out on the apron at the moment.
There is prolonged darkness at this race, though, isn't there? Once we get into the 24-hour format, it's Paul Trustwell. Does it hold the record for the longest amount of hours? It's identical to Daytona. I knew it was either outright #1 or equal. So equal to Daytona to the minute.
Lots more than Le Mans in the dark.
Yes, Le Mans specifically deliberately held as close to the longest day as possible, so you have as minimum amount of darkness hours as possible there. But of course now we're in the winter, in winter in the northern hemisphere, and this has more darkness than daylight, and equal to Daytona to the minute, as Paul Trustwell's just uttered into my ear. So with the sun, yes, as you say, thinking about starting to set now, we won't be at darkness by the end of this session, but nevertheless, it'll be something that these drivers will need to take into account ahead of tomorrow's race.
I think we'll be well into the gloaming, Johnny. It's 9 minutes past 5 in the afternoon at the moment, so we're about 6 minutes away from the due time for the 30 minutes to start to tick down. Lots of new to talk about in this session. Teams with new cars. One absolutely brand new car. A world competitive debut due to take place in about 5 minutes' time in this session. And it is a GT4 car, but as John Hindhaugh was saying in the earlier session, because the BMW's brand new M4 GT4, the factory-developed GT4 customer offering, is not yet homologated, that will be taking the track in the SPX class, which is in this session. A car in all-over white livery, the 401, but it wasn't when it was delivered. Still in the camouflage livery it was been testing in. So this is a car that will not be making its way to customer hands for another year. So lots of more testing and 1 or 2 more races to come on the calendar for that car. But the headlines, I think, are likely to be in the hands of the A6 cars, GT3 in other money, and those cars making their way, or beginning to make their way to the end of pit lane.
don't you think, though, Graham, that it's very easy to get drawn into a trap here, isn't it? I mean, yes, it's going to be it's going to be a flat out, it's going to be half an hour, it's all going to be who's going to get the quickest time. But if you start coming in during this session and trying to make tweaks and improvements to the car, or just take off a bit of wing here and things, it could all go horribly wrong.
Oh, it could.
One, because you get lost on the car settings. Two, we've seen it before, you might have contact with something else. You know, you have to be so careful as a team. Keep the race driver mentality, but just switch off the aggression a bit.
The focus is clearly, as Jan Martin was saying a little earlier, the focus is very clearly on the 24 hours to come. That's where the game is this weekend. It's lots of fun to talk about race cars going very, very fast, and we are going to see some very fast laps in this session, but Paul's absolutely right. The key to this is the teams understanding the best that they can squeeze out of the package they've got. The car, the settings on that car, the drivers, the track. It changes almost by the minute here, particularly when we've had, well, we say mixed weather. It has been rather cooler in the mornings. We've had actually quite thick fog for two of the mornings when we've actually arrived here early morning. And the heat does go out the day very quickly here when the sun goes down, as we found out to our cost on a number of occasions in this commentary booth. But that, I'm sure, will be the people playing the world's smallest violins back in Europe at the moment, where weather's not been too brilliant. So sorry about that. It's lovely here.
Just keep reminding them. Keep reminding them.
Part of the script.
I mean, this is going to be fastest laps possible in sprint format, if you like, but there are only going to be fleeting occasions where we see the cars in that performance trim during the race, I guess.
You know, I don't like making predictions, but I'll go and stick my neck out on the line here and say that the fastest lap of the whole weekend we'll see in the next half hour. Last year we got into the 57s. I just had a quick look back. Last year we got into the 57s in qualifying. It was a 1:57.892 pole position, which I think was Christopher Mies, who set the time in the Lant Audi. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see us getting into the 57s again. I mean, there's no reason why cars should be slower this year than they were last. You know, conditions are ideal. There's a little bit of a wind just beginning to build up, but it's not really high, hot desert temperature, which is going to suck the air out of the engine. So I think we could be in the 1:57s for this session.
And the other thing that's changed from last year, of course, is we had a lot of new machinery last year, and the teams understand that machinery rather more. So there's a lot of development in GT3. Not a huge amount once these cars have been homologated, but the teams will have got their heads around them. What were very new cars in many cases last year, and what we've got is a whole lot of variety again, in particularly in the SB3 class, the A6 class, and looking forward to seeing those cars on track. Some new shapes. The Vortex team this year coming back with their, well, silhouette machinery, if you like, looking very different indeed this year. And I'm particularly delighted, by the way, to see the 207 car on pit road. In my early followings of this race, as the Kravontic Dubai 24 Hours, the number 207 car, the Brocanet Silver Sting, was one of those specials that you followed the progress of. I'd never seen that car until 2 days ago here. Designed and built by the team, Slovakian team, in 2006, last raced here in 2011, has won its class at least twice here, both times with Wolfgang Kaufmann, who's back with the team again this year as part of the driving squad. And that car, based on a Porsche mechanical package, is about to take the track for the first time in competitive lappery since 2011 in the Dubai 24 Hours. I would love that.
Just need to correct myself briefly, because it was Christian Abt who set last year's pole position time, not Christopher Mies. Mies was fastest during the race, but it was actually Christian Abt in the Audi that set the pole position time.
The internet has just gone into meltdown because you were wrong.
No, it happens all the time.
So about to get rolling for qualifying 2. warm welcome to viewers on the live stream as well as radiolemans.com. Johnny Palmer, Graham Goodwin and Paul Trustwell taking you through the second phase of qualifying ahead of the Dubai 24 Hours for 2017, which starts tomorrow and runs twice around the clock into Saturday. We've already seen qualifying for the, I hesitate to say lower classes, but the less powered
fun
classes.
size, we're going to call them.
Okay, I like that.
Size.
Excellent. I used to have bags of fun size for Christmas, so I'm happy with that. These are the A6 cars, in any other term, GT3, together with the SPX, the SP2, the 991 and the 997 class cars. No prizes for guessing that the 991 and 997 classes are all Porsches, Porsche Cup cars, and it's already very, very busy as that queue at the end of the pit lane grew so that the pit lane was fit to bursting, and this is going to take just a bit of time for the cars to space themselves out and find sufficient air in order to set a quick time. Graham Goodwin.
Absolutely, cars streaming out line astern, and lots of them. Be 49 cars due to take the track for this part of the session. It was actually 42 eventually for the last session. A couple of cars damaged, one definitely out of the race, the 240 Cayman, after a very heavy shunt of the Montai racing car. The 165 Clio as well in strife this morning. Some more cars was to catch up with on progress post-session, but in numerical order we've got the likes of Mara Engel, the number 3 Mercedes-Benz. Christopher Mies is out there. Michael Vergas is out on track. Matteo Carioli, Christopher Haase, Liza David Arnold. Paul Lafargue out in the 17 Deck Sport Car, which will feature Nick Manassian, by the way, in only his second ever GT race start. There's one more notable name who will be having his second ever GT race start, and that is going to be in the Precoat Herberth Porsche, and that will be Brendan Hartley, Porsche factory LMP1 driver, asking for a shot at a GT start of his Porsche Paymasters, and being granted exactly that. Onto the apron in front of us, Johnny. As we watch the cars coming around to complete their warming up lap, is the 401 BMW M4 GT4. Schubert Motorsport entering that car and is about to enter into competition for the very first time in what will likely be quite a long career for that car.
We're having a discussion prior to this session, Graham and I, as to whether we would get to full darkness by the end of this session. Yeah, I think you're right, actually. We're going to get reasonably close to it.
It's going to be very close to being, it's going to be notably dark rather than dusk.
And if you're joining us via the live stream, these TV cameras are such great quality nowadays that they'll peer through the darkness and pick out every detail that the human eye isn't able to do. So we will see it far darker than perhaps you will at home or wherever you're watching this. But wherever you are around the world, thank you for joining us on radiolemans.com and via the live stream. We're really looking forward to this year's Dubai 24 Hours. It's been more or less a full motorsport week with the brand new Proto Series that Creventic has brought along for season 2017. 3x3 hour prototype races over Tuesday and Wednesday of this week.
Yep, and all brought live on radiolemans.com, yes, with LMP3 and Ginetta G57 P2 machinery winning races overall there. And a formula, I think everybody that watched it, most people that took part in it, would agree that certainly seems to suit the opportunity being offered for longer races later this season. 4 races later this season for the prototypes, and already an announcement from Creventic that there will be a 12-hour race for the prototypes the week before this race next year, creating a real festival of motorsports here in Dubai just after Christmas 2017.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about this event, is that you're just about getting used to the new year, in this case 2017, and then you look at the programme for the Dubai 24 Hours and it says, we'll welcome you back in 2018. I think, wow, that feels like such a long way off, but I guess it isn't really. 11th, 12th, 13th of January 2018, already the date confirmed for the next Dubai 24 Hours before we've had this year's.
Already getting quick times through, and fastest at the moment, and it may well be briefly, Christopher Haase going through in the number 14 Audi, and that car, the Optima Motorsports car, ran very well indeed. That car, its competitive debut last year here. I think it actually led the race last year, if I remember rightly. So Christopher Haase. Robert Kubica pops up in second position at the moment in the number 29 car. And Robert is part of the Fox Racing, powered by Olymp squad, the Porsche.
And Mathieu Yamane in the number 76 car.
That's the IMSA Performance Porsche. So
sounds like a Porsche, yes, yeah, because Yamane is driving it. And you and I were super impressed with Matteo Cairoli at the Red Bull Ring for the European Le Mans Series event. Well, Cairoli's on form again this weekend, I would suggest. And Yamane, who just fell short of Cairoli's points tally in last year's Porsche Super Cup, showing that he means business here in the Middle East this weekend with a fourth now best time, a 2:01.7, because Mark Bassing has appeared second fastest.
That's in the Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini, so top three different makes at the moment. It's Audi from Lamborghini, then the first the Porsches, Christopher Haas and Mark Bassing, Robert Kubica, the top three. There's three names to conjure with, aren't they? It's 2 minutes .809 from Haas, 2:01.371 from Bassing, 2:01.610 from Robert Kubica, but cars going quicker all the time up and down the order here. We'll bring you details of some of the classes involved in this as things start to even out a little bit, but can tell you that at the moment, of the 49 potential starters in this session, 46 of them are actually on track right now.
Yep, so very busy indeed for the first, 6 minutes or so. And we have a new name at the top of the times, Graham.
And it's Mathieu Yamane has gone to the top of the times, the number 76 IMSA Performance. This is the Kodak liveried car, isn't it? The IMSA Performance car. 1:58.917 up to second. It's a Porsche 1-2 now, because Robert Kubica has followed through with a 1:59.116. Kubica making it very clear he's keen to get back to circuit racing, and doing not a bad job advert there, Robert. 76 from 29. Christopher Haas still holds third position in the Audi, and it's a Lamborghini up into fourth, but it's not the 21 anymore, it's the 963 car. That's one of the two GRT Gressa Racing Team cars in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti. But as I'm saying that, Mark Bassing decides he disagrees and puts the 21 car back ahead of the green Lamborghini.
So Mathieu Yamane, Christopher Mies, Robert Kubica, now Maro Engel as well. So he now goes quickest in the number 3 Mercedes AMG, the Black Falcon car, thank you. And the 1:58.248 is getting perilously close now to the times that Paul Truswell said we should be expecting. Just a quarter of a second to try and find before we're into the 1:57s. But these are the sort of usual suspects, if you like. Engel, Mies, Kubica, no surprise to see him up there. Christopher Haas and Mark Bassing, certainly. Mirko Bortolotti in the GRT Grassa Lamborghini. And Mathieu Yamane, who hasn't necessarily been a name to conjure with in Creventic racing, could well be in 2017, certainly for this event.
And actually, we're getting a bit of a train of Lamborghinis in the lower part of the top 10, because Mark Bassing, Mirko Bortolotti now head Andrea Amici in the number 7 HB Racing Lamborghini, then Christian Engelhardt, the second of the Grassa racing cars, the 964 car, Lance David Arnold in the number 16 car, that's the SPS Mercedes. Christopher Haas now, though, goes to the top of timing and scoring, just edging out the best time so far, Maro Engel. Christopher Mies gets involved, now Jerome Blakemolen into the 1:57s for Blakemolen in the number 2 Black Falcon car, 1:57.705, half a second clear of Christopher Haas. And it's changing by the second. Nicky Pastorelli gets involved now in the GP Extreme Renault RS01 up into the lead part of the order. 7th quickest overall for the GP Extreme car.
Every time I look at the screen at the moment, it's changed again, but Blakemolen holding firm for at least the last 20 seconds at the top of the times. 1:57.7 the time to beat. Haas is next to him on the screen, but a fair way off. That's half a second adrift for Christopher Haas in the number 14 Audi. There is the number 2 car then, if you're watching the live stream. That car is so far. Jeroen Blakemolen at the wheel, but Maro Engel's surely not going to be too far away. Maro now in the final set.
In the classes, meanwhile, we should say, the moment, number 19, the Eurotrack Dodge Viper, that's the competition coupe, is the quickest in SPX. Daniel de Jong in that car, 15th overall for the SPX leader, ahead of the 204 car of Arnaud Gomez. Driver ID not working, we have been told, for the number 22 car. That is the Gravity Racing Mercedes-Benz. That's the older SLS GT3. 991 class, meanwhile, is being led by the 92 car of Christopher Zirklin, apologies, in that class. Ahead of Klaus Bachler, there's a name to conjure with. Klaus with FI World Endurance Championship campaigns on his CV. 2016 plays a 2018 at the top of the order there. And looking further down for what else we've got there, they are the classes at the moment. Anybody keeping an eye out for how well the new BMW is actually going, the M4 GT4, Jens Klingmann is running 43rd overall in that car. It's a 211.661, by no means a disgrace for a GT4 spec car. Number 2 car, meanwhile, is on the weighbridge as we see a bit of on-track action on the stream. The number 76 car now down in 4th position with the improvements from Blancpain, Haase and Engel.
And talking of off-track action, Graham, a little bit too far off the track for car number 68, which has had its last lap time deleted as a result of not respecting the track limits at turn 2, which is that kind of left-hander that brings you up towards the long sweeping right, and that's number 68, the Black Falcon Porsche, which is currently in the hand of Anders Fjordbach, I do believe, 68, and so his time disallowed. Both Jeroen Bleekemolen and Christopher Haase into the pits, as you mentioned, Graham.
Indeed, and Christopher Haase taking fuel, in fact. So presumably not a lot of fuel, so that car presumably running very light indeed. Short stints by the look of things for the 14.
You might as well, because it enables the tyres just to cool down a little bit as
Absolutely.
well. And so, yeah, no point in putting more fuel in than you need to. Come into the pits, let things cool off a little bit.
Indeed.
The danger, as I said earlier on, is that sometimes you just start making little tweaks here and there.
Absolutely. Christopher Mies pops up in 4th position in the number 4. This is one of the 2 Belgium Audi Club WRT Audis. As Mathieu Jaminet brings the Porsche into the pits from 5th position. Robert Kapitsa takes advantage immediately, pops up in 5th now in his Porsche. So it is Mercedes-Benz, the AMG GT3 number 2 from the 14 Audi, from the number 3 Mercedes-Benz, the 4 Audi, then the first of the Porsches, number 29, then the 76 Porsche, then the 7 Lamborghini, Nicky Pastorelli in the Renault RS01, the 16 Mercedes-Benz, and then the 21 Lamborghini. That is your overall.
AMG is currently on pit road. Christopher Haase back out again. Mario Engel has stayed out, and his best time was a 158.631. He went green through sector 1. There's been no improvement though through sector 2. Christopher Mies has brought the number 4 Audi back into pit lane. Robert Kubica is in the number 29 car and is still out there. Mathieu Jaminet for the moment, and Andrea Remici, which
new second contains provisional, and 3rd quickest comes the Lamborghini. It's a number 963 car, Mirko Bortolotti, putting that car through in a 158.183. Mercedes-Benz, from Mercedes-Benz, then the 963 GRT car, and the second GRT car comes up into 5th position. So 3 makes in the top 4. AMG GT3s 1, 2, then the first of Huracans, the Lamborghini 963 numbered Lamborghini from GRT, then Christopher Haase in the number 14 Optimum Motorsports Audi, the first of the R8 LMS.
Slight surprise, Graham, just looking down, picking up on what you were saying about Nicky Pastorelli driving the number 28 car, starting handed over to Jordan Groger. Jean-Eric Verne is down to drive that car as well. And if I were a team manager, I'd be expecting a guy with Formula 1 experience perhaps to be quicker. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Pastorelli or indeed Jordan Groger, but
Pastorelli, remember, is a previous pole position setter here
with the Corvette. Yes.
Yeah, but has probably got better circuit knowledge than Verne here. But I'll take your point.
Formula 1 drivers are supposed to be able to drive anyway, aren't they?
Absolutely. 34, meanwhile, I think that is the car collection car, is it not?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
that one's had a bit of a moment, bit of a rotation and rejoining. Spot down timing and scoring who's at the wheel of that car at the moment.
Yeah, I had the name Edelhoff spring to mind. I'm pleased I've been doing enough Creventic races to start to at least learn the entry list off by heart. Elmer Grimm, Ingo Vergler, Max and Gustav Edelhoff, and Johannes Kirchhoff.
And it is Elmer Grimm that's at the wheel of the car, is passed and passed safely by the number 51 car there. Just keeping an eye on the Porsche class, and Klaus Bachler has gone to the lead in that class. 22nd quickest overall in this session, 2:03.566. As the 63 car in the hands of Klaus Bachler, having taken the class for moments before the 9 pops up. 7th quickest now, and with this many cars on track, it just feels like a quick fire session, Paul, this.
He's now only of qualifying. We have had a couple of driver changes, but not very many. And you would think that really you probably would get your gun higher into the car and let him set your pole or your qualifying lap. The problem is that half an hour is too long to be a short kind of single driver,
yes,
but
indeed.
not quite long enough to let anybody else get dialed into the car. But nevertheless, it does give an opportunity for some more times, quick times to come. And
more quick times coming. The latest has come from Matteo Caroli, and he's up into 6th position now with the number 12 Porsche. That is the Monti racing car. It's been going well all week, that 911 GT3R. 1:58.639.
Robert Renauer in the 911 Precoat Herbert Porsche also sets his fastest lap, or the car's fastest lap of the session thus far. 911 takes it to 8th fastest, 1:58.751 for the car that really took the series by storm last year. Last year's A6 champion doesn't carry number 1 because the overalls champion was the Hoffa Racing Mercedes team.
Yeah, leading class SP2, by the way. I missed out SP2 in that rundown through the classes, and that is the 207 Brocanet Silversting. Jaap van Lagen at the wheel of that car.
Just caught a glimpse of it, by the way, on the live stream coming into pit road. That, I have to say, was my first sight of that car in the flesh. I could see why you've caught the bug on that, I have to say.
It's just refreshingly different.
Yeah.
It's something we don't see very much in modern motorsport. It's a special,
but
where's it embraced here?
Where's it been between now and 2011? I hope in some kind of museum on a plinth.
I think it's been actually in the Bovie Motorsport garage under probably a fitted cover, my guess. I think they come out and they caress it once in a while for the successes it's handed that team over the years.
But I think it's been straining at the leash, though, raring to go for competitive action, and finally that thirst has been quenched in 2017.
Yeah, clearly still has some pace in that car. It's 2:04.5 for at the moment what is the class leading time in SP2. Not a heavily populated class, it should be said. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in that class.
So the fastest car in this session currently still in the pit lane, as is the 3rd fastest car and the 5th fastest car. But we have Christopher Haase potentially on the move. In fact, he is on the move, not in terms of position, but a 1:58 flat, 0:06 to be exact, is an improvement on the time for the number 14 Audi. And Mirko Bortolotti now back into the session in the number 963 GRT Grasser Lamborghini Huracan. That's the full GT3 spec machine. 2:11.410 is the time Bertolotti's trying to better. Christian Engelhardt in the sister car still in the pit lane though. Robert Renauer for Precoat Herbert Motorsports in the 911 Porsche is running around in 6th position at the moment, 6th fastest.
That's a further improvement.
It is, yeah. 1:58.448.
Yes.
Yes. Very slight blurring of the time on my screen.
Very close stuff, by the way, in the middle order for the 991 class. It is still the number 63 Klaus Bachler is back out and now onto track, by the way. We've got just 9.5 minutes to go. Klaus Bachler leads the order in the all Porsche class from Christopher Zirklin. Bandar Alasayi is 3rd fastest, and there's Fjordbach is 4th. Then Phil Quaife, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that car a little more as times go forward, and Charles Espenlaub is the order, but very close-knit stuff.
And further improvement at the top of the field as Robert Renauer now goes second fastest in the 911 pre-coat Porsche, 1:57.993. So we talked about times getting into the 57s, 2 of them now in the 1 minute 57s. And Christopher Haase makes it 3. Christopher Haase in the number 14 Audi, the Optimum Motorsport Audi, does a 1:57.847.
Yeah, chipping away, aren't they, at that advantage from Jerome Bleekemolen. 1:57.705 now plays, as Paul says, 1:57.817. It's Mercedes-Benz from Audi, from Porsche. That's your top 3, the 2 from the 14 from the 911. Guess which one of those is a Porsche? So 2 Black Falcon AMG GT3 in the hands of Jerome Bleekemolen, first half of the session. Putting in that time, Christopher Haase has just gone second fastest in the number 14 Optimum Motorsports Audi R3R. Those 3 cars separated by just over 0.2 of a second.
And the Mercedes, meanwhile, Jerome Bleekemolen's car just sits serenely in its pit garage, or on the apron in front of the garage, with the number 3 car, which is the one that Jelmer Berm and Hubert Haupt are in, amongst others, Mauro Engel. That car sitting alongside it, but neither the number 2 Mercedes nor the number 3 Mercedes. The number 2 car's only done 3 flying laps, and then it came in and said, right, beat that then.
It looks that way, doesn't it?
There's still 7 minutes to go, so it'll be interesting to see whether he goes out right at the end, just to be in a position to defend if he has to.
They did everything but come out and throw a gauntlet onto the track, didn't they? It was pretty impressive stuff.
Now, as Robert Renauer has had one of his times taken away from the 911 car, because that was a 1:57. Last time I looked at it, and
it's Christopher Haase that's had the time taken.
Ah, okay. Right, so it's dropped Haase down to 3rd position, and Renauer up to 2nd, is it? I thought Renauer was always in 2nd. Anyway, we'll sort that out.
Christopher Haase did a 57.847. Absolutely right.
Parked up, literally, they're then put to a lovely kind of a phalanx, an ear of corn outside the front of the garage. The tyres were taken off Engel's car, they've been left on Bleekemolen's, and they're all sitting there as though to think you might do something. Now, someone who is doing something is Christian Haas in the 14 Audi R8, the Optimum car, because he's come in and he's getting a new set of boots. So Optimum are going for it because they're putting another set of new tyres on the car. He's got about 6 minutes, 14 seconds to improve his time, and he's going to go out again. But interestingly, I was very surprised to see that Robert Renauer qualified the car rather than Brendan Hartley, but just goes to show what I know. Obviously, Robert Renauer's quite fast enough. Now there's action down at Black Falcon, and the new tyres are going on the number 3 of Mauro Engel's car. They're obviously going to try and start pushing to move up from, I think, the 4th there at the moment, back up to 2nd. They're going... They're all about to kick off, at least as far as the 3 and the 14 are concerned.
All about to kick off with 5 and this is going to get very, very good. And there's already been movement on the screen, Graham.
There has indeed. New 2nd place car. It's 963 numbered GRT Lamborghini Huracan. Mirko Bortolotti goes up into 2nd slot, 1:57.822. But it's communicated to me by the international sign language of a dig in the ribs, and quite right too, is that there's trouble for the championship winning car of last year. That's the number 1 Hofer Racing AMG. That car is in the garage, has not set a competitive lap time. At the moment sits 33rd in the order, so it might well be worth it. I think you're in fairly close proximity to that at the moment, Nick, finding out what the problem is for the number 1, because things are about to get very interesting indeed on track, with cars improving in time at the lower end of the top 10. Are we about to see the same pattern at the top end?
Here is Nick Damon with who you seeing going out. Nick Damon just buzzing in my ears to say that the car is on his way out.
Jerome Bleekemolen, but not on fresh tyres. He's on the same tyres he set his fastest lap on a few minutes ago. So everyone's gone out. New boots for Engel, new boots for Haas, and 5-lap-old tyres for Nicole Bleekemolen.
Okay, thank you for that.
Improvements for Christopher Mies, for Mathieu Jaminet. Those two respectively 8th and 7th now, as a 76 Porsche pops up into 7th position. Robert Kubica has also put in a quicker time to get back into the top 10. So improvements coming.
So Bleekemolen back out, but interestingly not on sticker tyres. That's a strange decision, I'd say, from Black Falcon, but they have under their belts a 1:57.705, remember. Mirko Bortolotti's got almost as close as Robert Renauer did on that time that in the end was deleted. 1:57.822 for Bertolotti in his Lamborghini, and Robert Renauer's Porsche remains on the pit lane.
Bear in mind, though, Johnny, apropos of tyres, that these are a fixed tyre. It's not like they've got a huge selection of different compounds that they can use. It's the fixed tyre that there is just one set of Hankook, not one set, or one compound of Hankook tyres that are supplied to everybody for the whole of the weekend. And as I said earlier on, Blancpain's only done 3 laps on that set of tyres, so there'll be nothing wrong with them. They'll be as fresh as they were. Now they've cooled down, so no need to change them. And it may be that they were just keeping the heat in the inside of the tyre. A little bit of contact we just saw on the screen there, Graham.
That was the 963, the second fastest car, the Lamborghini Huracan GRT car, contacting what there was left rear, wasn't it, of the 34 car collection Audi. That car, the Audi, is actually pitted. 963 continues seemingly untroubled. Still watching quick lap times coming through. Andrea Amici improves but stays just outside the top 10. Matteo Jaminet not going to improve with that time. Matteo Caroli, though, up to 6th position with a 1:58.281 now in the number 12 car.
We have. So this is, first of all, the number 4 Belgian. The 1:58.560. He set last time around, in fact.
Indeed, and he's just on the tail of the SPS Performance Mercedes-Benz.
So this is through the twisty stuff where you can take quite a bit of curb, particularly on the right-hand side there. Now, really late turn in here, almost to the extent that you can't see the apex out of the windscreen. You can out of the side window, though, and that's your cue point to turn hard right through this heavily backed left-hander now, which feeds you gently onto what I call the back straight. It kind of runs at a diagonal, though, compared to the main straight. And the cars edge away from our commentary box down towards the corner. We can just about see way off in the distance. Much better viewpoint, though, from Christopher Meese's seat. And just ahead of him is one of a few Audi R8s here this weekend. That was number...
Team car. It's the team car. It's the 5 car ahead of him. We've got yellow flags, by the way, out between turns 12 and 13 at the moment.
Which is just where they're coming to now on your onboard, Johnny. So you'll see it now where the yellow flag is.
It's the broken it Silverstone, the car with the best name in the world.
By the way, speaking of the number 4 car, that is effectively, I think, the car that won here this last year, is it not? Or the same team anyway, and Stuart Leonard drove that car last year. We don't have any of the other 3 winners, though, even taking part in the event. Helen Ferte not here this year, Michael Meadows not here this year, and the other driver whose name escapes me, I was looking it up only a few moments ago, and the boys will get on that case anyway. It may spring to mind in a moment or two, but certainly Stuart Leonard was one of those guys.
The question here is...
It might have been Haase, actually.
I think you might be right.
Christopher Haase, I'm going to say, who is now driving an Audi, but the 14 machine.
Lawrence Vantour.
Ah, thank you, yes.
No,
Stuart Meadows, Stuart Leonard, Michael Meadows and Alan Ferte.
New fastest lap of the session and new provisional pole mark, but not a new provisional pole sitter. Jeroen Bleekemolen improves his time in the number 2 Black Falcon AMG to 1:57.449. And that's going to be interesting because he must have improved that under yellow flags.
Good point, yes. Heading past the stricken 207 car. So yes, we may not be able to talk about that for a prolonged period.
Well, that time, at least, he was certainly in the top of the order.
Well, the checkered flag's out. Yeah, you're true. Yes, so it wouldn't actually change the result of qualifying, although we may have a quicker time on our hands. But as Graham says, tentatively, that might have been set under yellow flags because of the stricken car, the 207.
And it was a single lap as well. I mean, that was his first flying lap. He did his out lap, single flying lap, so it's entirely possible that there was a yellow flag, but Jeroen really lifted on the straight, and there may be some telemetry to prove that he lifted on the straight, but in any event, yeah, I mean, it's never a good thing to improve your time when there's a yellow flag out.
Nevertheless, isn't that all the more depressing for everyone else to know that Jeroen Bleekemolen could have gone even quicker?
I think Black Falcon will be still smarting from what you were just talking about, the fact that Audi won this race last year.
Yes, good point.
And indeed, the car 2's lap time 1:57.449 is deleted and goes back to a 1:57.705. So takes the pole position by just over a tenth of a second. Number 2, Mercedes-Benz then, from the 963 Lamborghini Huracan, from the number 911 Porsche 911 and the 14 Audi 1, 2, 3, 4, Johnny.
So there is confirmation, and indeed further confirmation that the last time of Jeroen Bleekemolen was deleted. So we stick to a 1:57.705 to be the pole position time. Number 2 Black Falcon car on pole alongside the GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini Huracan, driven by Mirko Bortolotti, a 1:57.822 his time. From the Herbert Motorsport 911 Porsche, that's a great performance from Robert Renauer. Remember, he did have a 1:57.8 deleted, but a 1:57.9 still very strong. And then fourth fastest, Christopher Haase in the number 14 Optimum Motorsport R8 LMS, a 1:58.006. Row 3 will provisionally be Black Falcon and Montai. Mercedes versus Porsche. The drivers involved Mara Engel and Matteo Cairoli, and it was a 1:58.092 for the Black Falcon car, a 1:58.281 for Manthey. GRT Grasser Racing managed to get 2 of their cars in the top 10. Christian Engelhardt in the 964 car doing a 1:58.3. Mathieu Jaminet really impressing for his first Dubai 24 hours. Car 76, a 1:58.5 ahead of Christopher Mies in the 4 and Robert Kubica in the number 29 car, a 1:58.6 for the pole. And on to page 2, headed by HP Racing and their number 7 Lamborghini Huracan, a 1:59 flat ahead of the GP Extreme Renault RS01. SBX pole taken by the Vortex V8. The number 204 car, that was Arnaud Gomez setting the time, a 2:01.895. And further class pole positions, the 991 class Bachler unsurprisingly taking pole position in class 991, a 2:03.566 for the Austrian driver. And A6AM.
A6AM is the
is Paul Lafargue, isn't it?
Yes, that's a 17-ed Export Mercedes-Benz. We'll see Nick Minasian in that car during the race. And we've also got A2 in there somewhere. Not A2, where are we? SP2. And
which
SP2.
may be the Bovey Motorsport car, which is on our screen
it's the
right
207
now.
car.
Yep, so on the live stream you'll be able to see the Bovey Motorsport 207 broken net silver string, which sadly didn't make the end of the session, but did put in a really good time.
Coming back under tow as I look out over the circuit, and night begins to fall in earnest. More track action to come here, though, Johnny.
There is indeed, yes. Before the day is out, we've got, or before the night time is out, shall we say, we've got 2 hours of night practice. We have Nick Damon in the pit lane. I know lining an interview up for us as reaction to the last half an hour of qualifying. Nick, are you ready to go?
I am. It's not just any old interview. It's our pole sitter, Jeroen Bleekemolen, who was not only pole once, but pole twice, but they took the second one away.
Yeah, that's a bit curious because there was a car parked, and as I arrived, they took the flag away at the same time, and yeah, it was green again. So yeah, I think the lap is valid. Anyway, I would argue it with them, but the other one apparently was already enough. So yeah, 2 laps is yeah, it's great.
What was it like? You set pole, then you sat in the car for about 15 minutes watching people shoot at you.
Yeah, it's not nice. I know, you know, the level is so high here. Lots of great teams and some really strong drivers. So you just never know when you got it. I had a pretty good lap at first, but I had a car in the last corner, so that was quite a shame. So I knew I could improve a little bit, which I did on that last run. So yeah, great lap, and yeah, a great start. I know we have a strong team for the race, so really looking forward to it.
Second year with the AMG. Has the car been improved a lot in the last 12 months?
Well, I think it's pretty similar. I mean, they've when the new car came out, it was already really good. They did lots of testing with their test drivers, and yeah, it's just a great product. We just came from Daytona. Also there, the car's just running great, so I love it. I'm going to do a lot of races in this car this year, and yeah, it's great.
Congratulations. Go and celebrate with your team. You've got about 14 hours to restart.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeroen Bleekemolen joining Nick Damon down in the pit lane. Just to correct something I said earlier on, the A6AM pole position actually taken by car 29, Robert Kubica Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I thought. AM and Pro is a bit of a movable feast. You kind of get moved from AM into Pro, and that's been corrected now. So Kubica was actually been pushed into the Pro category already.
Thank you, Paul. I'm always amazed how quickly an hour disappears with 2 very quick-fire half-hour sessions there. But the grid is set. We still have night practice, though, to come later on this evening between 6 and 8 o'clock local time. Do the relevant calculations wherever you are in the world. My thanks to Graham Goodwin, Paul Truswell and Nick Damon downstairs in the pit lane. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of qualifying, and join us again on radiolemans.com.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the 24 hours here at Dubai, powered by Hankook. It is the 2-hour night practice. Nothing on the line here. The cars are out on the circuit and around the tracks at the moment. This is a 2-hour session, as I say, with nothing to gain here in terms of track position for the race tomorrow. But of course it does give you a chance to have a look at the track in the evening time. Paul Trustwell and Graham Goodwin alongside me for this first part of the session. We'll have Johnny Palmer in about an hour's time. A few changes, Paul, after that session.
Yes, I mean, you say nothing on the line. Strictly speaking, you have to complete 2 laps. Each driver has to complete 2 laps during this session in order to be able to be qualified to do the race. Regardless of whether he's going to do any night racing come the race, the regulations still require that he does do 2 laps during the night. And so there is that aspect of it, and then on the more practical side is also the idea of trying to work out what the car feels like as the temperature gets cooler,
that's a good point.
And where you can see and where you can't see, and making sure the lights are in the right direction and that kind of thing. So there's plenty of reason for going out, but I think your phrase was correct, John, in that there is nothing on the line for you.
There is, however, a change from qualifying, John, as has been pointed out online, and one I'm afraid we missed in commentary. There is a change in the pole position for A6.
You reported it exactly as it was on the timing screen. The implications of the times that were set.
The fastest car
some of those cars will move class.
Correct. The fastest car that started the session in A6M was indeed the number 17 Edic Sports Mercedes-Benz, and second fastest was indeed the number 5 WRT Audi, with Michael Vergers, I think, at the wheel. But because both those cars broke the 203 mark, that means that the Corvette, number 18 Corvette, the V8 racing car, which I believe, was it Duncan Huysman that actually set the time in that car? It was Duncan Huysman in the number 18 car. That car will now assume the pole position in A6AM as a result of the quicker times posted by 2 other cars, which will be now automatically, Paul, reclassified from AM to Pro.
Thanks, Graham. Graham and Paul will be with me for the next hour or so. We've got pit lane reporters as well, of course, and we've got sound and vision together on the 24hourseries.com site. And we're about to join in on audio with radiolemon.com. Well, hello everybody and welcome along if you are just joining us. Appreciate that not all of you have the bandwidth to be on sound and vision. We are streaming fantastic evening pictures from, well, it's darkness now, from Dubai and the Autodrome via the Radio Le Mans website and 24hseries.com. Camera operators are going to have a heck of a time, and because it gets very dark very quickly here, but I promise you, all your hard work out there, ladies and gentlemen, is very much worth it. Top quality racing cars, great circuit, in the dark. What more could you want? It's night practice for the next hour and 54 minutes, and it's live here on radiolemon.com. Let's head down to the pit lane. Joe Bradley. Hello, Joe. Hello, Joe. Well, definitely saw Joe down there in the pit lane. I'll leave his microphone on, and just in case he comes back to us. Times tonight don't count for grid positions. Those have been set, and notwithstanding the changes that Graham was talking about, although you still... Now, question is, what happens if you break out of your bracket in this session, Paul? That is a no-no, one presumes.
Same thing happens,
yeah,
yes.
exactly.
As soon as you go under 2 minutes 03 in any session, whether it's a qualifying session or one of the free practice sessions, then you are deemed to be no longer AM.
It does seem rather odd, doesn't it, to see the name of Marcel Thesler with an A6 AM next to him, but that is the case in this instance.
Well, you can still have a pro in an AM class car. In fact, not all of the A6 Pro cars have got all pros in, have they?
Although that will change, because that's one of the two cars that broke to 03. So Marcel, great to see him back in a GT car, obviously at the end of the LMP1 programme for Audi, and one of the drivers looking for a full season's campaign. Another of the many drivers that made their way from Daytona from that test last weekend, John, after a scary fire in the factory Corvette.
Yeah, must be getting used to it by now, that number 4 car. Did exactly the same last year and then went on to win all the big races.
Absolutely.
So it's Ullman's go in terms of trial by fire.
Heat treated, let's call it.
Perfectly well.
Cars, by the way, must have the number panels illuminated in this session. Fastest in the session in this early running has been Maxime Juice in the number 76 Inza Performance Porsche, Paul.
Yes, just if we can start to make a job list for our intrepid pit lane reporters. Somebody gave Johnny a dig in the ribs earlier on because the #1 Hoffa Racing Mercedes had been pushed back into its garage and it's not come out straight away. I did for a minute think, well, it's done its qualifying lap and doesn't want to be getting involved in any shenanigans in the early phase of the race, so it was part of the plan, but it's yet to come out of the garage in this session as well.
It has completed sector 1 according to this.
It's just this minute come out.
Right, okay.
So it's just late on parade.
It was me getting a dig in the ribs, and it was Joe Bradley that did it.
Okay, it was an early and an elongated break for them.
Technically assault, you realise that. Technically, but I'm not going to push it this time.
Go down there.
No. So Porsche leads the session, leads the timing at the moment. It's a 2:01.511 for the 76 car. No risk there to its AM status because it's not an AM car, it's a Pro car. Then number 5 Audi Marcel Thesler at the wheel of that, 2:03.678. And then a little further back, it's another of the AM cars. It's the number 66 A6 AM car. And Jürgen Hering has taken the Attempto Racing Porsche through in a 2:07.210. Nigel Farmer, 4th fastest, also in the 2:07s, 2:07.681 for Nigel. And that's the 77 car. Nigel, of course, another of the drivers that took part in the prototype races over the last couple of days. He's aboard the GT-R Racing Team Asia Lamborghini Huracan, not a GT3 car this one, it's a Super Trofeo, but as John Hindhoff and others that have been watching the Super Trofeo around the world would attest, these 620 horsepower, John, and remarkably rapid.
Unbelievable piece of kit, and as we saw at Abu Dhabi in December, the Super Trofeo cars in certain circumstances can be quicker than the full house GT3 cars. It depends on the circuit and one or two other things, but the cars effectively are more powerful and more slippery.
Yep.
So that certainly translates to faster top speed, and where you've got long straights, they are rocket ship quick.
I seem to recall, am I right, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, 2 seconds lap quicker at Laguna Seca than the GTD cars, is what I remember being told by one of our DSC guys watching timing and scoring, which is pretty astonishing stuff. Just 12 minutes into the session, almost, well, it is effectively full dark now.
Going to head down to Joe Bradley. I got a quick glimpse of him with Chantal Crawl, drivers champion, former drivers champion, and he's back with her now, and hopefully this time we'll get a word with her, Joe.
Yeah, hopefully. Chantal's been waiting very patiently. Thank you for that.
Chantal, your number one Mercedes sat in the garage for most of the qualifying session, and I've got to say that did concern me. What's the plan? What happened?
Well, Creventic has the A6 class divided in two different classes, so in the amateur and in the pro class. And we decided to go in the amateur class again because we have had a very successful 2016 this way. And the reference time for the amateur class is 205, so we were not allowed to go under that. And Christian had a 205.3, I think, so that was close enough for us, and we didn't want to take any risk, and that's why we stopped the qualifying.
Ah, that explains it. So that explains why the car is down the field when it came to the qualifying times.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, the car is way down the field. It was just strange, but that's explained things. So you guys are going to be running to a reference time for pretty much the whole of the event?
Yeah, we have to take care of that we are not going faster, and then all will be fine.
And tell us, for the viewers listening and watching it all, what happens when you go underneath and go quicker than that fastest time?
Well, the viewers, they will also see cars going faster than 205 in the amateur class, because there's also a pro amateur class, and they're allowed to go under, I think they're not allowed to go under 203. So the cars going under 205 probably are in the pro amateur class, which you don't see on the screen. But for us, if we go below the 205, we have 10 chokers where we can do that. And if you have used all those chokers, then we get penalties.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, how easy, how difficult is it effectively making the car go slower than the car is possible?
I didn't get that one.
So are you restricting the car to make that lap time? Can the car go a lot quicker?
The car can go a lot quicker, yeah. You see it in the other Mercedes driving, so...
And as a racing driver, is that hard to do?
Well, as in pro, probably it is hard to do, so you should ask Ken or Christian about that. For us, it was hard to do with the SLS last season, but now with the new car, we've already noticed today that it's not that hard anymore, so maybe we will have to take care of not going too fast too now.
Thank you, Chantal. That is a challenge, a big, big challenge. Not only is it about driving a car as fast as you can, you've got all of that complexity. I'm glad I just have to speak into a microphone. Thanks, Chantal.
That's Joe Bradley down in the lane as in comes or out goes rather, the number one car for, well, that was Christian Frankenhout, sorry, coming through the pit lane. He has done some laps, so he had been out on the circuit.
3 laps he did, John.
Thank you very much.
I think just going down for fuel. I don't think he stopped at the pits there, did he? Just went straight down for fuel.
I'd certainly be getting in and out of the pit lane in the dark, in and out of the petrol station in the dark. I'd be telling all my drivers I wanted that to happen, if I'm honest.
So we get really our first opportunity, gentlemen, for the pretty unique display we see from the commentary booth windows here in Dubai, which is dozens of GT and touring cars, headlamps, tail lights.
That's great, actually.
In all directions, with a sporting cast of the motorway and a floodlit A380 flower bed.
Do you remember when you first got the Scalextric kit with lights?
Exactly that. It's exactly that.
And you used to close the curtains and switch the lights off, and then just squeeze them, and you could see them and get down on the carpet with your head as low as you could. And it is. I mean, in a sense, it is exactly that kind of environment, isn't it? But I think the compactness of the serpentine that is the Dubai Autodrome really is kind of brought out here. But also, I think what the headlights do that I noticed, Graham, is accentuate the speed differentials.
Absolutely.
Because you do notice cars that are going more quickly than others much more easily when you're kind of picking out headlights somehow.
Well, I mean, the direct view from the middle window here that we're looking from, gentlemen, we can see just through one window, 1, 2, 3, 4 turns, plus the back straights. And as John was saying yesterday, it does take a little while to dial yourself into the vista here to make sure you're ignoring, you're basically tuning out otherwise confounding factors like the motorway traffic. It's
even worse on a Friday night, of course, which is the holy day here, and that tends to be quite busy.
Yes.
And the petrol tankers here, of which there are legion, all have amber flashing lights on the cabs.
Absolutely.
The refuse lorries, all going backwards and forwards, ditto. And it is quite easy to look across. There's one going down there now, actually.
Absolutely. And the new confounding factor, new for 2017 confounding factor, is that the life-size A380 flower sculpture has got navigation lights on it.
It's got a red navigation light halfway down the back of the thing. Yes, you're right, the fuselage. I pointed it to Johnny early on in between sessions and said, have you seen the Alan, the crash landing? It's been kept very, very quiet. And he looked at me. And then I handed him the binos.
Oh dear. It's very funny. No, it's not an A380 that's gone mouldy. It's
it's very, very well done.
It's very well done.
Metal structure. Fairly busy pit lane. A lot of the teams have brought their own overhead gantries and lights here. The paddock here full of the transport containers that have come from pretty much every corner of the earth to bring the teams, their cars and the equipment along to Dubai. In fact, there's a couple of teams, including Tom Onslow-Cole's team, whose car hadn't had even a shakedown before it went in the container. Well-organised teams and teams who's been here a few years have their own containers, and what they tend to do is pack them up at their workshops and then take it to one of the collection areas.
It's quite interesting as you look along the back of the paddock, John, because they're all slightly different. They're all slightly different, but there are several different types of containers. Some are slightly lower, some are slightly longer, and it's precisely what you say. Some of them have brought along their own containers. Other of them are using containers which are supplied for them. Others have come from different places, so have different types of containers. So it's a bit of a haphazard mess there, but that gives the whole thing its character, to my mind.
It does. The odd thing is, we're talking about containers, not probably what we expected to be doing in the middle of a session. The thought occurred to me actually earlier this afternoon. I wonder, for the crew's point of view, not the drivers of the crew's point of view, by the end of the week here, it's pretty hot out there, whether or not they really go to love those containers because it's where you can get a bit of shade, or really hate them.
When I was walking into the back of the paddock last night, actually, a couple of the teams, having taken everything out of their containers, have a line of camp beds all the way down them, and there's about enough room for about 12 in a herringbone fashion. And they were all made up beautifully.
Like an Anderson shelter.
Yeah, very much so. Look that up, younger listeners. All beautifully made up, hospital corners on the bedding and everything like that, clearly all just being done. I thought, that's really sensible.
Fantastic
We've
stuff.
had some nice, very nice RVs have pulled in the last few hours.
Are they not for us?
I think they're rentals, John.
Are they?
Yeah, I don't think...
Are they not for us? Do we not get one of those each?
One each. Come on, that's enough. We don't even get a container, do we?
Yeah, we're all in the same... You don't want to be in the same container with Bradley.
We've got some good times coming through.
As you might expect in the darkness.
Christopher Meese is quickest of all. I was kind of changing the sentence as different people were going more quickly, but Christopher Meese has now gone quickest with a 2 minutes 1.323 for the number 4 Belgian Audi Club WRT Audi. And up to second place has also improved. That's the number 76, the IMSA Performance Kodak Porsche, which has Thierry Cornac now at the wheel of it, but previously was being driven by Maxime Jus, who set the fast time. Then we've got Jules Gounon, Jules, not Jean-Marc, Gounon, who is driving the number 21 Conrad Lamborghini, and he's set third fastest time in 2 minutes 3.115 seconds. And then fourth fastest, he was kind of the man who started it all, Christopher Haase. Although he was up to second at one point, Christopher Haase has now been pushed back down to fourth with the Optimum Audi, number 14, and he's done a 2 minutes 3.163. So one car substantially quicker than two cars substantially quicker than the rest, really. 2 seconds separating the first two from the rest, with Christopher Nice and the Maxime Juste time in the Porsche. So Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Audi, Porsche are the top 6.
And there's a mark of the relative competitiveness in time for the Super Trofeo Lamborghini we were talking about a little while ago. Just popped down from 14th to 15th fastest, the number 77 car. It's a GDL Racing Team Asia car. So A6 Pro cars all the way down the order to the 10th slot, where up pops the V8 Racing. This is what we believe to be the pole position car in A6AM for tomorrow's race.
Subtexture change.
Absolutely.
Everything unofficial.
Had a long chat with the race director last night before leaving, having spotted some changes on the timing screens for post-race for the final prototype race, and asked for a bit of an audience to see whether or not we get an explanation of what was a pretty complex series of changes. As is traditionally the case, time penalties are added after the event for smaller time penalties in some of these races, and that had actually occurred in some cases. But another example of the pragmatism, those who were listening in yesterday to the coverage of the final of the three-hour races will recall a little bit of gentle ribbing at the expense of our Kuwaiti friend, who was aboard the number 57 Graf Racing Ginetta G57 because he turned up to the fueling point and the tanker had run out of gas.
And Kuwait has what percentage
20%.
of the Earth's oil supply?
20%.
20%.
Okay, so that took them obviously some extra time. The pragmatic approach was taken by the race director to actually hand back 3 minutes. So that actually lifted up the 57 Graf Racing Ginetta to the class win and the overall podium. So it would have been, it was a Graf Racing double win in LMP3 and overall, and for the Ginetta G57 class. New fastest lap of the evening, Paul, in this session at least.
For Robert Renauer, the Precoat Herbert Porsche 911, doing a time of 2 minutes 0.727 seconds. So it's now Porsche, Audi, Porsche at the top. And then Marcel Fessler in fourth fastest with another Audi.
That car, that number 911, there's a word, and it's ominous. It just looks quality. There's so many cars of quality in this field, of course, but that one in particular, the intriguing addition of, by the way, the second man that I'm aware of in this field in his second ever top-class GT race, and that is Brendan Hartley.
Who hasn't got in it yet, as far as I can remember.
Certainly not this afternoon.
Certainly not since I've been paying attention.
Yeah,
I think he was out in one of the test sessions earlier today.
Which will have been his first ever time in a Porsche GT3 car. He has driven a GT3 Cup car before, not in a race, but only his second ever GT race. And this previous GT race, by the way, was, would you believe, the Bathurst 12-hour in 2013, a United Autosports Audi.
Well, it was Nick Nassian who said to Joe Bradley, I think it's a racing car, you get in it and you drive it.
And of course he is the other driver. It's his second GT race, because his first was the Gulf 12-hour.
He has been in the car today, and we had a chat with him earlier on, of course.
Yes, it was this afternoon that he didn't during the official sessions. No, I mean, you're right to draw attention to that car, because one of the things I was saying to Johnny and earlier on was, you know, this mix of drivers. I think that Precoat Herbert car has probably the closest mix of drivers of any of them, in that they're all, I mean, they're not all equal, but they're all much closer together in terms of what lap times they can turn in than any of the others. So, yeah, that is a very, very serious threat.
The 99 RKC Honda was a class winner at Brno. The epilogue was the final round of the 2016 24-hour series. Here we are at round one of the 24-hour series 2017. Tom Gannon here is one of the drivers. Tom, Class winner at Brno, but here in Dubai, completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we're still just developing the car and stuff. Obviously, there's a few more cars in our class that was in Brno, so it's a little bit more competitive. Equally, we've got a couple of new drivers on board with us, so at the moment everybody's just working the way in, feeling the way into the car, just trying to progressively get faster over the weekend, ready for the race tomorrow.
So there's you, Tom Gannon, Ricky Coomber is also in the car, David Drinkwater is out in the car at the moment, and you've got Simon Dayton, who's new to this car, I think, but he has got Honda experience, I believe.
Yes, Simon's having his second drive with us. He drove with us in Barcelona, but we had some car issues when we were bedding in, so Simon's really fresh to the team as it goes, and also Simon's not driven here, so again, he's just feeling his way in at the moment.
Happy with qualifying? Were you happy with qualifying?
Yeah, the pace is there or thereabouts. We're, you know, as I said, we are tweaking the thing as we're going along, so, but yeah, we're happy with the pace we've got. We're just going to try and get a nice, consistent pace and try and stick to that and see how we do.
That's all you have to do. Sounds easy.
That's it. Well, hopefully, anyway.
Thanks, Tom. Tom Gannon out the 99 Honda. Best of luck.
Got to say thank you very much indeed for Gabba Siski, who adds this nugget of fact into the broadcast. He says, I'm pretty certain this is an unknown fact. I think you're absolutely right. The Brokernet SS, one of its early test drivers, was back in 2005, was Nico Rosberg. It's very interesting. I'm quite impressed by that.
It's about time we got an interesting car, isn't it? But I never knew that. That's fantastic facts. Well done, Gabbo.
Now I'm dying to know how that came about.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But bear in mind, back in 2005, I mean, I'm pretty certain that is a unique car. I think there is only one car.
You made the correct use of the word unique.
Unique. There is just the one. So maybe you can actually add a little bit. I did a little bit of research, because having seen the car was on the entry a week or so ago, I got myself all excited, because it's basically it's a race car I've never seen. And spent a little time actually poring over the car a couple of days ago, much to the amusement of the team. Because of course these guys see this car every day, presumably at the back of the team's workshop or in some kind of showroom back at home. I've never seen it before. You know, is it a majorly historical race car? Well, no, not in those terms, but it is a successful race car in this race. It's a car I've been certainly aware of for a decade or more, and it's great to see it back out there. And I think it was one of the guys in the press room last night said, you know, that is one of the things that we miss from so many races nowadays, is something unique, a special, something that actually works here that isn't necessarily an FIA homologated car, and I completely agree with him.
Well, and it's credit to Creventic for allowing that. We've given praise before to the ACO for opening up garage 50-60 cars that don't fit within the rule sets. What's nice about Creventic in their sort of extension of run what you brung kind of mentality is, we'll find a class for you. Let's have a look at your performance. Just drive around a bit. Okay, fine, we think you'll fit there. No, that's not right. And things will be changed. And I like that, because it's not just about turning up and tooling around. It is about competing. And I like the idea of people doing that. I like the idea of people being able to build something themselves. And the problem is with so many race series nowadays, that things that don't fit into a pigeonhole, well, you can't have it, I'm afraid.
Well, yeah, we got another example of that on the grid. In fact, I think two examples of that are those on the grid, and they're not unique, but there's two of them here, and that's the Vortex V8 cars. Now, we've seen these cars before in all sorts of different guises. They're effectively, it's a mid-rear engine, isn't it? Silhouette V6 or V8 engine package. We've seen them with various Silhouette bodywork in the past. I can certainly remember 2, 3, 4 years ago them having a terrible weekend here at the Dubai 24 Hours, and we're getting a fair amount of stick from a number of people, including me. They came back a couple of years later and did a much better job, still in touring car style Silhouette bodywork, and this year they're back with some very neat sports car-like chiselled looks, and look very neat and tidy indeed, and actually well up in the top 20 and top 30 in the qualifying times. And that is, you know, it's a motorsport organisation and Krivontic, the organisers of this championship and this race, working with a team to actually help them to go racing with something a little bit different. Love it.
On board on the long back straight, the Ricardo Sanchez driven Nissan 370, and those guys using blue light inside the car to almost into the side of the 303 Seat there, using blue lights inside the car to highlight the buttons. And that's the old nightclub trick, isn't it? The sort of dark purple, the black light type of thing, and you use fluorescent buttons, or at least something that is going to pick it up, and then you don't have to have too much interior lighting that's going to ruin your darkness vision. I'm old enough to remember black lights at discos, you see.
I thought it was just so the girls could tell whether you cleaned your teeth or not before you come out.
Well, yeah, that is true as well. The problem is, if you have too much light inside, you A, get reflections on the screen and everything, which is really off-putting. I hate cars where you can't dim down your dashboard. Or B, you can't see what you're meant to be pushing and you push the wrong button, also bad. C, you can see which button you're meant to be pressing, but it's so bright that you lose your night vision, and in some of the very dark areas of this circuit, then you can't see anything for 5 seconds.
Ricardo Sanchez, by the way, at the wheel of that car, winner of the Nissan GT Academy, well, a couple of 3 years ago now, and this year's new addition to the crop, winner of a regional example of the Nissan GT Academy, and it's Johnny Guindy. And Johnny telling me a little earlier, by the way, he wouldn't have actually entered this at all. Bit of a gamer, of course, but not necessarily with Gran Turismo. But vaguely knew an acquaintance was Ricardo Sanchez. That caught the imagination. He entered and got to the final stages as being in the top 10, much to his surprise of, would you believe, in Mexico only, how many do you think? 86,000 people entered that contest. That is quite amazing.
But I mean, that's the secret of the success of the whole process, isn't it? You pull in 86,000 people, you're going to find one that's good. You know, I mean, the world's greatest racing driver lives in China.
But, I mean, that is roughly. You could probably correct me here, John. I'm sure you will. It's something like 20 times the number of people, the average crowd at Sunderland. It's all gone quiet.
Except that's not true, unfortunately. Are you looking for a job with Donald Trump?
No.
The interesting thing for me is that I think what is underplayed in that whole thing is the job that RGN do, Bob and Liz Neville, because the training program that the guys get after the selection period is actually what makes them into racing drivers. The selection, using a game, rolling the 66 on a die, in some ways that doesn't matter. Paul's right, there may be the world's greatest racing driver, football player or whatever, sitting at the end of the street somewhere in British West Hartlepool, who doesn't drive a car or kick a football right now, or it may be in the low foothills of out of Mongolia. Those people with natural talent may never be discovered. What we've got here is a beautiful, I think, in GT Academy, melding of a relevant way of selecting people. So you've got people at least with hand-eye coordination, and then from then on you've got a boot camp that selects in real-world conditions, and that has been, by the way, refined over the years of the competition to include fitness, to include other areas. and also obviously some driving, because unfortunately there are some very, very good gamers out there who will never make racing drivers. And as we saw with Formula E in their million, billion, squillion pound challenge in Las Vegas recently, there are some world-class racing drivers who are absolutely rubbish when it comes to games. It's not the same. It's not the same skills. It's similar. But what you will get is the ability then to see people, put them in a situation, and then test them again in a relevant environment and through boot camp, and then the moulding of those drivers from complete rookies into
Absolutely
international C drivers is done in the real world, and that's brilliant.
Right, two things I'd like to add to that. Number one is, well, it is sort of the World Championship of transferable skills, isn't it?
It is.
And you know, that's a fantastic part of it. One of the things that actually more than one person involved in the process has said to me is, don't underestimate the fact that most of these top-class gamers actually have something that some racing drivers don't have, because they basically can race anything on, you know, in virtual terms. They actually tend to have a pretty good grasp of the engineering side of things, because they to squeeze the car out, you've got to set the car up. You've got to set the car up online or whatever you do. The second thing is, you said about grounding these guys, and I can recall it's a little wee while back, a couple of years back now, and I think it was the likes of Wolfie Reap and others when they were just coming through the process. And we were at early days of a race meeting. Guys had turned up just at that point when it would have been clear to these Nissan Academy graduates, if you like, that they were staring at the real potential of becoming a full-time professional race driver. And at that point, that can get in your head a bit, can't it? Not allowed to do that at Team RJN, because these guys were told fairly bluntly but politely, what are you doing, guys? Okay, fine. Stuff's at the back of the garage. I need the car cleaning.
Yeah.
Car was cleaned. And the net result of that systematic preparation and that grounding, John, is that you walk into that garage, Jan Mardenborough, who stands at the moment on the cusp of a factory GT500 drive in Super GT, is exactly the same young man as he was when he stepped out to that 370Z at the end of that process 5 years ago.
Let's have a word with Rob Barth, who's been part of the programme for quite a while. John Bradley is down there.
Yeah, just continue on what you guys are talking about. I've got Rob Barth, who's the head driver coach for the GT Academy programme. We've just been describing the programme and all the great work and the great talent that you guys discover. Could you tell us a little bit about the drivers that are in the car this weekend, Rob, and what their progress has been? Yeah, sure. Well, we've got a quartet of gamers in the car, running from Jan Mardenborough, who's the most experienced gamer, who's racing hopefully in GT500 this coming year in Japan, through to Johnny, our latest Mexican, who this is his first international endurance race. So we've got guys from both ends of the experience spectrum, with Roman Sarazan in the middle, and Ricardo Sanchez as well. Both of those have got a season of Blancpain under their belts. And tell us, I believe that the inexperienced drivers, you've gained experience by putting them to like club-like events, like, you know, Northern Saloon Car Championship kind of thing. Oh, nothing wrong with the Northern Saloon Car Championship. Yeah, 11 weeks ago, Johnny was a computer gamer. He was a genuine sofa gamer, and he won the GT Academy competition. He won his place at Silverstone. He came to Silverstone. He won the race camp there, and he didn't get the flight home. He stayed. He went into an 11-week driver development program, and here we are, from gamer to racer in a very short space of time. And if you think he only got a race driver's license at the end of August, start of September, you think about what you have to achieve to get ready physically, mentally, experience-wise for an event like this, as well as doing the logistics of going racing, obtaining the upgrade signatures. The guys at RJN have had him out almost every weekend since the end of September to the middle of December. Fantastic. Now, we need to sit around a pub for a few hours and discuss and debate whether gamers actually make good racing drivers. Just because you're a good gamer doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good racing driver. What I mean, Rob, is there's a little bit of difference sat at home with a copy in your hand than your backside being a couple of inches from the ground at 150 miles an hour into turn 1, for instance. How does that manifest itself in the process that you're describing?
So the gamers come to me. By the time I meet them, they've already won through to the stage of coming to the UK. So they're damn good on the game. They've got a very good understanding of racing line and dynamics. They know the circuits like the back of their hand, and they're incredibly confident. They are utterly fearless. Now, the thing that I have to think is, because I'm faced with about 20 of these guys, and they're bedroom gamers. They're a fairly special breed. They are the Jedi, they are the red arrows of the gaming world. So they have something that makes them the cream of their crop. And all we have to do is tap into what's made them extraordinary gamers. We can, because you know, they don't become extraordinary gamers in a matter of moments. They process information, they make mistakes, they learn from those mistakes, they repeat, they learn. And we try and bolt on at GT Academy in real terms what they are exceptionally good at in virtual terms. I think that makes sense.
It absolutely does, and it's kind of you guys identify who's been given the gift from God in the process of the gaming aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely. And what we try and nurture is the knowledge that these lads have got a hell of an opportunity, you know. They've got the backing of an international sponsor. They've got the backing of a manufacturer. This is real. They can get a seat in a factory-sponsored sports car. It just doesn't happen nowadays. But with GT Academy, and you know, it's been proven that it does, and it's been proven year on year, and the program keeps growing, keeps evolving, and we're very proud of it.
I feel cheated. Thanks, Rob. Keep up the great work. It's great to see these guys out here. And you know what? I can't remember, if ever, any one of them have let you down. So the process is clearly well defined and works brilliantly.
All right, thank you, Doug. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, and Rob is one of the major parts of that. He's had a huge influence in making sure that the guys have been safe and competitive. 51 Porsche in a bit of strife at the moment. That is the FAC Autotech SFX SPX entered car. That is one of the Montai Racing altered.
Currently in the hands of Martin Ragginger.
Oh. And he's just out of turn 1 and in between turn 2, heading well, into the gap there that takes you on the club loop.
Not on the racing surface, but certainly in potential harm's way.
And one of the people who are out there as well at the moment is Brendan Hartley, who's taken the 911 Porsche, steamed into action by my suggestion that he hadn't been out in the car. He's gone out again, or gone out for the first time in the night qualifying session. He has to do his 2 night laps, of course, and he'll be starting to do that now. And one other thing we didn't mention at all was the time that was set by Sven Muller, and it was the new fastest time when he set it in the number 12 Manthey Racing Porsche. He did a 1 minute 59.610 to go quickest of all when he set the time. The car has now been handed over to Cairoli, and he is the current driver.
Now we've got a partial timing screen here, Paul. I'm quite confused by why it says best time. Is it a slower time than that time?
They're both the same time, aren't they?
No, that says 9:55 on the left. 1:59.955 is showing us the best time. Against you, quite right. He did
out on the track while you two have that discussion about the timing screen. We do have assistance at Martin Ragginger. Safety team 7, Nissan Navara. Right headlight is out, but the additional lights in the pod is on, and there is fire in the flat 6.
Yeah,
which is always a good thing.
And that car is going to rejoin, and my guess would be come straight back to the pits, John. Yellow flag still out turn 2, of course, because the intervention vehicle in a position of risk, but now withdrawn. Paul?
The explanation is that column you're looking at is the theoretical time, which is the total of adding the best 3 sector times together. So that is not a real lap time, that is a theoretical lap time.
So his actual lap time was a 1:59.955.
It's the best lap time for Sven Muller, yes. and the best so far that has been set by Matteo Carioli is a 2 minutes 1.039. He's now done 4 laps. He's on his 5th lap of this stint, so probably he'll be coming in, and as I say, they'll just be cycling through with their drivers at the moment.
He's stopped again, unfortunately,
he's stopped again, yes, he has.
Just before the next turn on the infield driver's right. And that must presumably be turn 3.
Yeah, he's down by the S's. Can't see him from here at the moment. The good news is that if he can get that going again, we've got code 60 here. He's going to get a tour.
Yeah.
The guys have given him half a chance. That's reasonable.
Unfortunately, from where he was, he could have been towed to a place of safety reasonably easily. But by trying to get it back, unfortunately, he's done a little bit more damage to the session.
Yeah. But not much, because he can be towed round driver's right all the way around the right-hand side wall and then in the back way to the pits through 14.
First night practice session for these guys, isn't it? So actually having the opportunity to practice code 60 in the darkness.
There would have been one anywhere, to be honest.
Indeed. So the opportunity offered for a real-world reason.
Which is nice. Not for Martin Ragginger, of course.
No. Can't be very comfortable, can it, sitting in a race car stationary as cars go by at near full racing speed?
I do have experience of that. It's even worse when you're facing the wrong direction and you can see them coming towards you.
At night?
Not at night, no, I've not been the wrong way around at night.
Yeah, so everybody else
I've not been stopped at night. Yes, indeed. I've not been stopped at night. It's bad enough in the daytime. I mean, the other thing about racing at night, and this is the thing that you don't realise till you do it, you think, I've driven at night, how much different can it be? Well, how different it is that everybody's got their headlights set to full stun, and nobody's got automatic dippers or anything like that on. Basically, they want as much light as they can, and if it blinds you, I'm afraid that's very bad luck indeed, to the point where we taped up our side mirrors. So you could see through, half of the side mirrors with a piece of very, very almost opaque but sort of dark grey film that you would put on a spot lamp.
Oh wow! It should dull the dazzle.
So you could still see there was something there.
Yep.
But frankly, you didn't need to if somebody came up behind you in a faster car with big headlights. It would be nice to know which side it was coming, and I do applaud the use of the proximity sensors that are on
Corvettes.
Yeah, well, they've got the one that's linked to the rear camera that gives you an arrow that shows. But I was reading the other day that the new GT3 or GT4 car, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was, and I should.
Well, the new GT
apologise. They have the same proximity sensors from the road car. I think it might have been the Ferrari, actually.
Well, the 2 new GT3 cars are the Acura and the Lexus this year. They're the only 2 new ones this year. There are plenty of new GT4 cars this year.
I think it might have been the Ferrari that said they'd borrowed the technology. Oh no, I know what it was. It was the Porsche. It was the Porsche and the Cup cars and the new GT3 version of the Porsche has proximity sensors.
The 911 GT3R, of which we have myriad here.
And basically, they've just stolen them straight off the road cars, so that when people are in that blind spot in your rear 3/4, then you get a flash on your screen or through your mirrors, which I think is brilliant.
I think we have another car in trouble on track, because that second intervention vehicle we saw on the screens here, John, in close proximity to the FAC Autotech car, continued around and then stopped further around the track. And I think there may just be another car in trouble.
The major question at the moment is which of the safety vehicles has picked up Martin Ragginger, and is it one of the new ones or the
like
old
Nissan
ones?
To me, but it's very dark. It could, though, I have to say, dear listeners and dear viewers, no, there is definitely another car in woe, because I'm looking at red lights.
Where's this?
Over
turn 2?
No. The hairpin.
That's this. That might be somebody on the banking overlooking it.
No, it's the other side of the car.
Okay.
The intervention vehicle.
You think somebody spun and facing the wrong direction there?
I think it's an Audi, isn't it? The green Audi A3 went out and then crossed, well, it certainly passed the initial tow vehicle and then came to a halt where I can see red lights facing us, and then in quick order after that, another intervention vehicle attended.
It's on the infield.
There you go. You can see it now on the screens, John. It is... That's one of the Vortex, isn't it? It's 204.
Yeah, it's on the infield down below the corner, the banked corner, if you will.
Well, I'm reasonably impressed with myself. I spotted
204. That is.
It is one of the Vortex V8s.
And I think it's just come to a halt. By the way, for those who were interested, it was F-150. It was F-150 number 1 that got the Martin Ragginger car. I know that you are ticking that off even as we speak.
Absolutely. In the I Spy book of world pickup trucks. Comes as a standard accessories for Radio Le Mans this year.
We were talking on Midweek Motorsport last night about the excellent news that Ollie Jarvis has got a Bentley GT3 drive, works drive. And somebody suggested during the course of the show, which was at dark 30, I think in the morning by then, that Bentley might be gearing up for a P1 attack with both Lena and Ollie there now. And I said, whatever else it might be, GTE, DPI, you name it. And somebody said NASCAR truck. And I'd just written Dakar with the Bentayga, and then I thought, oh, the Bentayga is a pickup truck, because the world does need a premium.
I think that's quite right.
Truck.
A quick question while we've got a good quiet time. How many of those new Daytona Prototype Internationals have been built, John? Because every other day at home, I get somebody calling me to ask if I want to reclaim the money I spent on a DPI.
Yeah.
And there must be massive call centres. I mean, if there can't be a business model that supports that kind of industry, it's madness.
Get it all out your system now. By the time the rest of the season starts, they'll all be gone.
Beatings will be administered.
Nice to see. I do like the fluorescent panels and the highlighting around the A and B pillars that some of the teams use here. And of course, we have got the brightly lit number panels that show the overall positions for every car in the field, which I think this was the first series I saw that in.
I think you're right. Is it another thing that Cravontic have done before anybody else?
It's amazing, isn't it, where huge series that turn over billions of dollars and have multi-million pound sponsors, dollar sponsors, as well as very, very big entry fees, are years behind some of the things that we have here. Pit lane, I think. Joe Bradley, was that you opening up your microphone to talk to us?
It was just to pass you a bit of information about the 172 Clio. That's the Team Cooksport car. It's had contact. Now, looking at the car, you wouldn't have guessed it had contact. The car went up on the jacks. Yes, I inquired with Josh Cook, who's not only driving the car, but he's team managing. In fact, he's got the name above the door, Cooksport. That's where it comes from. When the heat's off, they're checking the car over because the drivers reported that the steering's a little bit askew. But it has had contact out there, so I don't know whether that's had anything to do with the Code 60.
Odd that you never made detective with deductive skills like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joe. And you do know Renault Clio Cup cars, in fairness, don't you?
Yeah, and problem is that the wheels, the spokes on the wheels protrude beyond anything else, and they catch first. And it causes all sorts of problems with your steering geometry.
I understand why they couldn't be changed when they were running in the spec series, Joe. What really shocks me is nobody who've used them outside the Renault Clio Cup have gone away and found an aftermarket item that's the same offset in size, where the spokes don't do that, because it was always an Achilles heel of those cars, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was a bane of my life in 2007. Because it cost a fortune every time the car came in, and it's especially in the Clio Cup series throughout the world, throughout the international Clio Cup series, whenever a car came near to one another, just by fractions, millimeters, centimeters, the wheels spokes would interlock first, and you can imagine they just interlocked and just smashed each other to bits, and all that energy would transfer, would damage drive shafts, steering racks. Cost a fortune. Not my money, though.
He's still bitter, though, isn't he?
No,
you can
I've
tell.
got to forget that.
Still
really
bitter.
has. The Vortex is on the rollback on the flatbed.
Absolutely.
Which is heading back towards us.
And I think has actually already made the infield and will be going now down underneath the track. Or am I looking at another intervention vehicle? Another.
It looks pretty special on the back of that car. They've done a really good job with this restyle. They aped to BMW, didn't they?
It did.
When we first saw them.
Not in a good way, I have to tell you. No, I wasn't
well,
impressed.
Like a 3 Series compact, always thought. It wasn't the worst looking car.
This is certainly a far more pleasing thing to the eye.
It looks like a field design for a Batmobile.
Yes, fair enough.
I really like it.
Early draft.
Early draft, yes.
There you
go. Of the possibly even of the George Barris era.
By the way, well done to anybody at Vortex listening. This is we heartily approve. Not only is it certainly a quick piece of kit, it's actually now a pretty good looking piece of kit as well.
There's a few styling cues there. The front end's a little bit of Vora, and there's a little bit of all.
A little Lamborghini about.
There is a bit of Lamborghini about it. I like
about the rear deck.
And the rising line above the rear wheel arches, that's quite nice as well. That almost has a little bit of Porsche Cayman about it, but you know, it's nice. It's not totally derivative. It looks like it has its own character and personality. I quite like that. A few people coming into the pit lane to change drivers. We're coming down to the hour mark, so that's halfway through this session, which means that there'll be the opportunity to swap your drivers out.
Absolutely. Almost halfway through this 2-hour night practice session, Paul.
Yeah, on that front, the number 4 WRT Belgian Audi team car have had 4 of their 5 drivers in the car already.
Not at the same time, we should say.
3 of their drivers in already, not at the same time, sequenced. Christopher Mies was in it, Enzo Ida has been in it, Stuart Leonard is the current driver, but that's one of the not so many A6 Pro cars that has 2 more.
Just want to draw attention to the dashboard on the Lamborghini, the 963 car. Second gear, 57.7 average lap speed, that's kilometres. A big code 60 flashing in the middle. And now the average lap speed, because he's gone across the line, has just changed. And because he's set his speed to 60, it's hovering around 59 and 60. Also, a rear view camera rather than a rear view mirror above him, and an elapsed time for a Race Logic elapsed time marker in the middle. The other thing I quite like is the Alcantara covered dashboard as well. There's a bit of class about that, with the Huracan GT
very
embroidered into it.
Very Lamborghini.
I like
I'm
that
actually
a
surprised
lot.
it's not in fluorescent green, that's all.
That is an A6 Pro car, though, so apart from when it's doing code 60 type laps, it doesn't matter what its lap time is.
I can't see what he's got there. That could be stint. That could be stint time or something else.
Now, whilst we were on board, well, if you're watching the video stream, we did see that Audi intervention vehicle go past at a pretty decent clip. That is because we are going to still remain at code 60 for a further couple of minutes. There is debris out there on the circuit, presumably from that incident with the Vortex, or maybe something else. It might have been the Clio incident that Joe was describing a little earlier. So another couple of minutes under code 60. The number 204 has been recovered to the pit lane and will be delivered back to its grateful crew. But some more work to do out there in the darkness. Code 60, therefore, will continue beyond the halfway point in the session.
And clearly very useful time behind the wheel for Brendan Hartley, who, remember, had just got into the 911 Porsche, the pre-code Herbert sponsored car, just before the code 60 was imposed, and has since then been driving round and round almost as slowly as he knows how, poor soul.
Well, for those that haven't heard the story as to why Brendan Hartley, LMP1 Porsche factory driver, is here and is indeed driving a GT3 Porsche 911 GT3R for the first time.
Because Mark Webber has retired.
He is retired, he wasn't available. But no, Brendan actually would like at some point in his career to race at the Nürburgring 24 hours. And now he knows it's not going to happen anytime immediately soon, but he felt, as a Porsche factory driver, that he should certainly do the odd race in a Porsche 911. He's never raced a 911. He has driven a Porsche Cup car previously, tested it, but this is his first time here in competitive order in a Porsche 911 race car of any description. Not his first GT race. He has raced once before in an Audi, as it turns out, in 2013 at Bathurst. We were talking a bit earlier in the programme, I think, about maybe it was yesterday, about the draw of these big endurance races in GT3 nowadays. Ollie Jarvis, you know, about to actually fulfil his ambition to race in the Bathurst 12-hour in just a few weeks' time. And they have another young star, Brendan Hartley, for whom, yes, he's got this fantastic opportunity, professional opportunity with the LMP1 Porsche 919, but still wants to top up his CV with some of those big races outside his immediate orbit.
I almost agree with you. Just your choice of words that I disagree with on. To top up his CV implies that he's doing it for another reason beyond.
Just the love of the sport.
It's actually just for the love of the sport.
Right.
It's actually to be able to say, I've raced at the Nürburgring.
Yes.
And that's not to say he's going to go to the Nürburgring with anything other than the intention to win.
Indeed, he wants to win it.
But it's to go to the Nürburgring and race on that track as much as anything else. Green flag and Johnny Palmer.
Yes, a change to your left in the main commentary position, if I could say that. John Hyde steps away, Johnny Palmer in place. It's RadioLeMans.com, and we're taking you through night practice on this Thursday evening, 6 p.m. through till 8 p.m. local time, and we have 57.5 minutes to go with that code 60 that was brought out just as a practice, or was there a reason?
No, there was a reason.
No, there was a reason.
Two reasons, in fact. In fact, three, and no more than three. I'm not going to expand on that any further. It was a problem. In fact, two separate problems. So sorry, it was four. It was two separate issues.
Hang on a minute. So it is 4 reasons.
It's 4.
Right.
It's definitely only 4.
Okay.
So
do you want to come in again?
Let's start again. First, we have Martin Ragginger grinding to a halt on the exit of turn 1, off-track driver's right. Intervention team arrived with the car. Martin managed to restart the car, only got as far as turn 3 before stopping again. That brought out the code 60 because he was then in a position where it wasn't easy to actually recover the car. Car got under tow, was then passed at speed by another intervention vehicle, spotted in the gloom around the horseshoe that there was a problem for a car having spun to the infield there. That turned out to be the number 204 Vortex V8. That required recovery on a flatbed. That's incident number 3.
Right.
And then we got a further couple of minutes while the intervention teams and the marshals actually cleared up a bit of debris. So 4 and out, and we're back to green with 56.5 minutes to go in the session, Johnny.
Thank you for the update. I knew you'd be able to solve any issues that I had with that as I move my way from one side of the circuit to the other. Right, the 216 Modern Motorsports car is the car that we're on board with on the live stream, but won't always focus on that because well aware that some of our RadioLeMans.com coverage, some of our RadioLeMans.com listeners rather, are only listening to the audio, so we'll keep you in tune with what we can see.
This is of course the car that I believe this shared by, amongst others, by Matthias Besch, and set pole position in the TCR class earlier this afternoon. Currently 39th position in the overall standings this evening, and again is the quickest TCR car. One of the Seat Leon TCRs. And another car, by the look of it, Johnny, pulling over to the left-hand side on the monitors just here. That's a car crawling back towards the pits.
So it is, yes.
Driver's right.
At turn 14.
Yeah, and struggling back towards pit lane. Looks like one of the smaller GT cars from, I thought initially, a Lotus.
Okay, it's just about to emerge back into our sight because the spectator banking that overlooks the second bit of turn 14 obscures our view, but yes.
It's the Hankook liveried number 111. And set a cracking time earlier this afternoon in the hands of Jamie Stanley, that car.
So that's the Track Club Evora. Jamie Stanley, one of 3 drivers, Adam Knight and Adam Ballon being the others.
Has made it down into the pit entry, is very slow, but I think we'll get there safely. Another car, unfortunately, may well be balked by its coming into the pit lane. Clearly cannot overtake. All very well flashing your light to the car there, but that's, you should not be overtaking in the pit entry there.
Well, to be fair to the driver of the Evora, it's giving it space, but that's definitely not somewhere you can overtake, and I hope that's been seen.
That was the 24 car. That was the car we're on board with just a little while ago, the Vortex. Now, I'm not sure what that was all about. The 111 clearly in trouble. The 24 car coming at a pace, clearly then coming across the much slower Lotus, flashing the lights, well, rather aggressively, I think it's fair to say, to the point where driver of the Lotus felt it necessary to pull far across the right, at which point the Vortex overtook in the pit entry.
It was pretty obvious that that Lotus wasn't going slowly through choice. You know, it was a mechanical issue, and therefore the car behind, with this not really being a competitive session, just a chance to get mileage in under darkness hours.
This is not my not vastly impressed with that look.
Well, no, indeed. And actually, really good driving from the Lotus pilot, I think, to stay off the racing line, not to bother anybody else during the session. But when you come down the pit lane, you've got very little option but to just chug along and get to your box as quickly as you can. And if you hold people up behind you, well, that's just the situation.
I'm afraid so. That is effectively his refuge. He's looking for his ultimate place of safety, which is the pit lane. I won't be at all surprised to see the 24 team manager summoned to race control for that.
So that's Graham Goodwin, I'm Johnny Palmer, and let's hand to Bruce Jones, who's joined by one of the many drivers here this weekend, Alex Sedgwick.
Alex, you want the Cook Racing Clio to be out on the track. It's being fixed in the garage. Explain what happened.
So we're not too sure really, but all we know is Shane was going onto the back straight and he was up on the high line letting the GT cars through, and one of them tagged him. It's knocked the toe out a little bit on the rear left, but it's getting fixed now, so hopefully we should be back out in about 10 minutes or so.
Now, it's not just because you like to get used to circuit. You drivers have to do night laps.
Yeah, or every driver needs to do a minimum of 3 night laps before Creventic says it's okay for us to race. So, and that's especially important for us because I'm the only one in the team that's driven the race before.
So 5 drivers, 4 Dubai novices, the 172 Renault Clio, Josh Cook, who runs the whole show, working very hard on it. What is he sorting?
At the moment, just sorting, checking the trackings back in place. From the looks of the incident, it bent the camber out and it took the toe out of where it should be. So just checking that the rear beam and everything's still straight, and we can get it back to where it should be before we can go back out. So.
Okay, go and lend a hand. Thanks, Alex.
And this is actually the first time Josh Cook has experienced 24-hour racing. That was Alex Sedgwick being interviewed by Bruce Jones in the pit lane, and I had a very quick word with Josh Cook towards the end of his British Touring Car Championship season, and he was really looking forward to coming to this event. I think it's going to be another one of those situations where, dare I say, a sprint racer has his eyes open to the endurance style of things, and maybe this could be the start of something.
We don't tend to see many people that go away to these events here. I really did enjoy that.
No,
really. Meanwhile, some fluid on the track at turn 14. Presumably it's a bleed injury, therefore, for the Lotus Evora. The flags have just been withdrawn, so either they're satisfied that there's no further risk, or it wasn't some fluid down. A bit of a conflab there between 2 or 3 of the cars. The garages are pit in, but who's going to get to which pit stall in what order? Well, that's all been done in a fairly gentlemanly fashion.
Bruce tells me, in my ears at least, that the number 1 car only had 1 working headlight as it passed him.
In which case that will be required to get that fixed. It's pretty dark out there. 51 car just watching coming down pit road, and that too, that's the car that was in trouble earlier, of course, and has had the toe back, been back out, but actually the right hand headlamp is out on that car as well, which it was when the car tried to rejoin. So there's another car there in minor electrical difficulties at least, even if the only difficulty is a blown bulb. But we're at that evocative time again. We do like to see it. Masses and masses of sports racing, GT and touring cars lapping quickly in the darkness. We're going to see an awful lot of this, Johnny, in the next couple of days. Still, fastest lap of the session is that 1:59.955. from Sven Müller in the number 12 Porsche. So Porsche 1-2, Audi 3, Porsche 4, Audi 5.
And yeah, I'm reminded of the sense of two worlds colliding as I peer out from our brilliantly positioned commentary box, because you've got the lights going in all sorts of different directions on the Dubai Autodrome. The main road is really busy in the background as well, as everyday life just continues on here in Dubai. Many of those people travelling past the circuit will not be aware of quite how many cars are hammering around this circuit at this point in the weekend. And there'll be 24 hours of this to enjoy from tomorrow. But this is, as we're hearing from Alex Sedgwick, a chance for many of these drivers, their first experience of, quite possibly first experience of night driving, full stop, let alone here in the Middle East.
Night racing for most, I would hope. Otherwise we're talking about really inexperienced drivers.
I know there are one or two 16-year-olds here.
That's a fair point.
But yes, night racing, quite right. Now, 3 of those said cars, 4 of those said cars are on their way in. One of them is the number 1 car, I reckon, only because it's got a light out. Yes, it is the Hoffa Racing Mercedes AMG.
There's the 2 car is on the way in, and the 1, you're quite right.
And now the number 1 doesn't have any space, because the position it was going to go into has been taken by the 99 Honda, which quickly darts out. So Hoffa Racing now can receive their AMG, having to push it the rest of the way.
The 16 car, the SPS Performance car, is pushed back to a point where they can exit their pit stall. Busy time on this pit lane at the moment. It's Bruce Jones at the moment down in the pit lane. He's going to have to be balletic in his moves between the pit stalls.
Having to have eyes everywhere to make sure that he keeps peeled of the cars that are currently on pit road and also about to join him. Here is Bruce.
Well, yeah, I had a little time to go and have a bowl of soup, but the number 10 Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini, do you know why that's sitting in the garage? It didn't go out in qualifying. No engine.
Oh, really?
And they're going to be fitting a new one to those, and certainly for Oliver Webb, he'll be very relieved. Jake Rattenbury sharing the car with him, and also with Jean-Charles Perrin and Harold Schlotter, but at the moment, no lights, no engine, no nothing.
So which was that car?
Number 10.
Right, I've got another quick list. If as and when you're down there, because the cars that didn't go out to qualify, that were still on the entry, the 10 you've just explained, the 25, the 57, 165 I know was the Clio that was in trouble this morning, 240 is the Montai Porsche that I believe is a withdrawal after a heavy accident yesterday, and 250, one of the Roadtech Porsches. They're the missing cars after qualifying. 10 we now know. 165 and 240 we're pretty certain of. So 25, 57 and 250 are the trio of cars unaccounted for from the entry post-qualifying.
And the number 10 car there on the jacks with no block in the back of that machine. So hard work going on, and Bruce talks about the potato and leek soup he's just enjoyed. Him and I both, in fact, but maybe those guys will need to just head away for a bit of a start.
Was a bit of an Oliver Twist moment, if you ask me, there from Bruce Jones down there.
Yes.
I've just had a bowl of soup. I wasn't quite sure he meant I've just had a bowl of soup. I've just had a bowl of soup.
Okay. You'll get more food later, Bruce, I promise, once we're done with night practice. But there's work being done on the front end of that car as well. They're doing quite a lot of stuff, aren't they? Reminds me a little bit of what happened here last year for the Precourt Herbert Motorsport guys, who turned up with a Lamborghini, and very early on in the week it caught fire, and then we never saw that Lambo again for the Renauer twins, Ralph Bone and Daniel Alleman, and they've had a Porsche ever since.
Are we sure that's not a build a Lamborghini overnight competition?
It could be, yeah. They're just waiting for the latest edition of the magazine, which delivers the engine. The problem is they didn't realise that edition was going to be $8.99 rather than the £1.50 starter price.
I did a quiet word with my young daughter the other day when she spotted one of those kind of part work things on TV and quite fancied to go at that, and I pointed out the little simple maths, just exactly how much it cost to build R2-D2. And I think the answer is 1,100 quid.
Across 155 weeks.
Absolutely. She went off the idea when I told her it could come out of the pocket money, but there you go.
Funny that.
Third fastest time, meanwhile, of the evening session has just gone to number 29 car. Now, it was Robert Kubica set quick times earlier. No, it's not Robert Kibitz, that's the wrong car. That's the other Fox Racing car, isn't it? So that's the car that, amongst others, has Will Fensler in. Sorry, Robert Kibitz is in that car. I do apologise. There's a car with 5 drivers on the roster, and Robert has been mighty aboard that car.
So that's car 29.
Car 29 is the Fox Racing powered by Olymp. Porsche 911.
Robert Lucas, Marcin Jedlinski, Wolf Hensler, Santiago Creel and Mr. Kubik, as you say.
Indeed. And that's the Writer Engineering garage. That's neither of those people, you will gather, if you're watching on the video stream, neither of those people is team manager Thomas Enger.
Yes.
Unless Thomas has really changed in the last couple of years.
Good spot. Back to Bruce Jones in the pits.
Well, having problems. Number 25, you're quite right. HTP Motorsport, Mercedes, rear fixing the left corner from the driver's point of view. The suspension mounting point is being reinstalled, reinstated, if you will. So that's why that didn't go out qualify, or isn't out now, but they're working quite steadily on that one. It may be out before the session's over. I'll now chase the other two for you.
I can tell you that the 250 car has gone out in this session, so the one remaining absentee is the, and thank you very much indeed for that, Bruce, you were breaking up a little. I think that was, by the look of it, suspension issues left rear corner for the number 25 car. So the one remaining casualty from qualifying that's as yet unexplained is the 57 car, and the 57 car is it's the second lap 57 car, isn't it? The Honda Civic TCR.
Okay, yes.
So one of the team's 2 cars was out, but not that one.
So yeah, lap 57, who are local, by the way, as in UAE based, here with the 570 car and the 57.
So the 57 car did not go out for qualifying.
That's the Honda Civic TCR, and there's a Honda Integra DC5, which is the 570 car.
Well, that's the one. I think that's the car that has been an ever-present, but I think they've rebodied that car this year.
Last year? Or this year? For this year?
For this year.
Yep. Okay. I'm interested in how that Honda Integra will go. 3 Japanese pilots, Umimoto, Okamura and Hamano, and then we've got Peter Jürgen from Germany and Ashan Silva to complete the quintet. So, right, so that Integra's ever-present, what, here at Dubai, or?
I think it's been one of those long-term...
Right.
Someone will have a quick look about lap 57 in a moment. By the way,
yes.
Thanks very much to Josh Barrett for the questions about the missing cars post-qualifying. It was something I meant to have a look at between sessions. We just didn't get the chance to do that. So thanks, Josh. Always good to know that things are moving on. We've got a problem out on the circuit for car 135. Reported as moving slowly from turn 10. While that's happening, the number 16 car is on a shuffle. That's the SPS Automotive Performance AMG GT3. Car shared by Tom Onslow Cole, Lance David Arnold, Tim Müller and Valentin Pierberg. And has set a purple time in Sector 1, a green time Sector 2. Purple is fastest of the session overall for everybody. Green fastest of the session for that car. And we'll come round to complete the lap fairly soon. Currently on a 2:01.077 for the 4th fastest time of the session. Is that going to improve up the order? It needs less than a 10th. It does. It goes second quickest. So improvements for that car in all 3 sectors. As we said, the first sector, the fastest of the session so far, 2 minutes point 290, just 3/10 off the fastest time of the session this evening. 40 minutes to go, Johnny.
And who do we think's at the wheel of that car, the 16?
I've not got it on my timing and scoring at the moment, so I'll quick look to see whether or not it's Tom Onslow Cole.
I wondered whether it might be.
So Tom Onslow Cole goes through with the 2nd fastest time of the night session. On video stream now we can see drivers left off the racing surface, but moving but slowly. It's the 135 Seat.
Is there any damage on that car, or was it's got the extra rally style headlights, by the way? Yes.
The 135 is the Zest car. Robert Taylor, Graham Cox, the 2 named drivers on the entry list that we've got.
Yeah, only 2 drivers. I think there may be more to add to that somehow.
That car has had to stop on the inside of the turn. Needs to get across the track to pit in, but that's a terribly, terribly dangerous place to try to do it. He's gone as far, really, as he safely can. He's going to try and make that move now.
Yeah, inching his way onto track, and actually nicely done that, because there was
got a bit of a spurt on there, didn't he?
Yes. Yes. G'd up possibly by a nervous driver wanting no one else to come round.
Blinding fear, I think, is there powered by the setup there.
Well, indeed, doing it off the back of a blind corner. Thankfully, had chosen a massive gap in the traffic.
Absolutely.
Nobody else came flying around.
So rear corner looked to be towing out rather badly there to me.
Yeah. So that car now the right side of the track to, again, trundle its way into pit lane, and this is another situation where if anybody else chose to pit right now, they will just have to sit behind that Seat. Yep. And in fact, we do have another pit caller, so let's see what happens here with the car going far quicker than the Seat. We're not yet at the pit speed limit, and the Seat pulls well aside and actually allows the AMG by, it's the 16 of Tom Onslow-Cole, which has been showing some good pace.
Yeah.
But arguably, Tom Onslow-Cole was quite a bit more patient than the other car that we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah, Top ticks it off, and in he comes. Being pointed out again by Josh Barrett, by the way. Get that anorak zipped up. is pointing out now that the Lamborghini, the number 10 car that's currently in the process of being built, basically, or rebuilt, featuring Ollie Webb. Didn't Ollie Webb have to start from the back of the grid last year? I'm pretty certain you're right that he did. So I'm afraid we're going to have to, at this point, start a new Twitter campaign, #blame Ollie.
Okay. You know him quite well, I get the feeling. So this is firmly tongue-in-cheek.
So soon to be ex-friends, I think it's fair to say.
Soon to be ex-friends.
Soon to be ex-friends with that kind of blame Ollie.
Yes.
But Oliver doing, of course, a full season last year in the FIWC aboard the Bicolis CLM. So an LMP1 driver last season, LMP2 the year before. 16 car, very distinctive livery.
Yeah, I have a memory that they did start way down, and probably, yes, at the back of the grid, and had a phenomenal run through to finish on the podium.
I think you're right.
They didn't win, but they came really close to it, and we were keeping our eyes on that car, particularly heading into the final 2 hours, just to see how well it could do, having had a dreadful lead up to the race. 17 Porsche heading into turns 1 and 2 there. The 17 machine being, his screen decides to freeze just at that exact moment. It's the, it looked like the FACA Autotech machine. No, it's the ADEX Sport.
ADEX Sport.
I beg your pardon, Patrice and Paul Lafargue. It was a Mercedes, it wasn't even a Porsche.
Yeah, that's just a quick look. Where are they in the overall?
So hang on a minute. No, that's the car I was looking at. And it obviously isn't 17, it's 12, that's why.
That is the car that Sven Müller put to the top of timing and scoring. The 17 car, by the way, is the car that Nick Minazian has been added to the order for.
I thought I could tell a Mercedes from a Porsche and vice versa. It's just the numbers I can't read in this gloom.
You know what, he's that good.
Yeah, I know. They don't get me from nowhere, you know. I've done my research, Graham.
Wow.
That's Graham Goodwin. I'm Johnny Palmer, learning all the time.
I'm being turned off now.
Here's a man that knows absolutely everything and probably has memorised the entry list already. Bruce Jones.
Well, I'll talk to people who know everything, but lap 57 Motorsports, 2 cars here this weekend. Well, actually, 3, and that's a good thing because they have 2. The one we're talking about is number 57, their TCR Honda Civic. Why was it not out, Graham? It blew its engine, but they had a spare Honda TCR. They brought it to the back of the garage, and they're refitting the engine, or fitting it to the one that broke down. Car looks fabulous, but would look better out on the circuit. And then when you get a look at it, Andy Blackmore's designed the livery, and it's an absolute cracker. But unfortunately, a car going at 0 miles an hour never looks that good, does it, really?
You know what? We just sent Bruce on what you would reasonably describe as a 24-hour racing scavenger hunt, and he completed that in pretty short order. Well done, Bruce Jones. That's all cars then accounted for. Thank you very much indeed. So referring back to the cars that did not make qualifying, 10 is the Lamborghini under rebuild at the moment, and you're almost correct, Johnny. Ollie Webb actually fought back to 2nd overall. in the Black Falcon car last year with his teammates. The 25 car was the one with the rear suspension damage.
Yeah.
57 is in the midst of an engine change. 165 is the accident damaged Clio. No news on whether or not that is going to be able to be repaired. 240, judging by the insurance photographs I saw being taken this morning of that Cayman, will be playing no further part. That was a pretty heavy accident for the Cayman Monti Racing. And I've completely forgotten about what happened to 250. 250's out in the session, so clearly didn't make qualifying, but is out in the session this evening. So thanks very much, Bruce. Thanks very much indeed, Josh Barrett, for the questions on that one this evening, because it did help us to fill a bit of a knowledge gap we had post-qualifying.
I'm just going to get one further update from Bruce on... is that another car that we didn't mention in our list, Bruce?
No, there was still a query from Graham about the Cayman number 240.
Yes.
Well, there's no query. I saw it being put into its travelling container.
Okay.
By which means it got here to the circuit, and it was being packed up for lunchtime today. So that's over and out, I'm afraid. 240.
Bruce, the one remaining gap then is 165. Now, we know it had the accident. We know there was pretty heavy damage to the front of that car. It did look as if that might be beyond the team this morning. Pretty heavy damage to the barrier as well.
Yeah, going down there now, their body language was very much that they might be spending time by the pool in the hotel, but I'll go down and get confirmation for you.
He is indeed a fabulous human being, Bruce Jones, isn't he? And you know what? It might sound like we're actually setting him short. He likes this.
Yeah, he does, absolutely.
He does.
And I think he's doing more miles than Joe or Nick have managed all day, frankly. But they have had a busy week, because they were here before Bruce and I got here. They'd done some proto something or other. They were pounding the pit lane, looking at G57s.
They enjoyed themselves.
Absolutely, yeah, no, I think they thoroughly enjoyed the very first part of the Proto Series, which could have a long future with Creventic. Three-hour races that took place across Tuesday and Wednesday of this week.
Yep, wins for Ligier overall and a win for Ginetta overall, the G57 P2. Bringing 8 examples of that car with new customers, drivers from all over the world, Australia, North America, from the Middle East here, all across Europe. New customer teams are plenty as well amongst those 8, and that was great to see. 2 P3 cars, Peter Cox putting on a display as well of just how fast you can go when you're Dutch talented, and an LMP3 car, Nico Prunk putting in good display there. Graf Racing though came out top of the tree with 2 overall wins, and finally a class win in the Ginetta G57 P2 win their debut with that car. And at one point it even looked as if we might get a CN car winning one of those races overall. But no shortage of entertainment midweek. We have midweek motorsports on a Wednesday evening normally, but we've had midweek motorsport on a Tuesday with 3-hour races. It's been great fun.
And there are 4 12-hour races to look forward to in 2017 as part of the 24H Proto Series, the Prototype Endurance Series, beginning at Manicourt across the weekend of the 21st and 22nd of April. There's a 12-hour race at Misano at the start of July. Same goes at Paul Ricard for the 18th and 19th of August, and then at Spa across the weekend of the 6th, 7th and 8th of October. That's a very, very busy weekend for Creventic activities, because there's also a 12-hour race for prototypes. There's a 12-hour race for Touring Car Endurance Series as well, and they're separate races.
Yeah, there are. I mean, I think the Proto Series shares with 24H races at all of those events. So it's a multitude of endurance events. And the other race we now know and can confirm is that the first weekend in January the 7th, 2018, will see the inaugural 12 hours prototype race here in Dubai. So what there will be is the weekend before the 24 hours of Dubai, we'll see a 12-hour prototype race, and that will also introduce, as will by the way the races this year, the prospect of the potential rather of LMP2 cars joining this grid. Now we're not quite sure yet whether or not there's confirmation of the intention that will be effectively 3 classes: a P2 class for LMP2 cars up to 2016 and the Ginetta G57 P2s, an LMP3 class for, guess what, LMP3s, and a CN class. It works for me.
Yeah, because that then provides a home for the older spec, as they will be by that point, P2 cars like your BR01s and Gibsons and things that can't run.
Ligiers, you name it, and why
cars
not?
that can't run under ACO rules.
The only place they can still run under ACO rules until the end of the 2019 season is the Asian Le Mans Series. And in fairness, there has not been a massive appetite for that yet. There's time yet for people to decide. But you know what? There's no reason why you couldn't do both.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a conversation that John Hindhaugh was having with Gary Willems from Creventic at the barbecue, things like Daytona prototypes came up in conversation, to which Gary seemed very happy about. He was sort of, it's possible, he said. And other prototypes that maybe don't have a home to go to anymore. You know, this could be an all come all prototype class.
Well, there's no reason why not. If you're looking at cars that are within a certain kind of performance parameter,
yes,
you know, a class that has Renault RS01s and Glickenhausers in would be a great thing to see. They are cars that are potentially both quicker than a GT3, potentially both quicker than a GT3. So could you get to the stage where you've got the Renaults that you and I have enjoyed commentating on this year for their final year in Renault Sport Trophy, in that state of tune, be competing against other sort of GT sports cars that don't really have a comfortable place anywhere else? I'd be delighted to actually talk about that.
Back to the matter in hand, though, because we now have less than half an hour to go of night practice.
Have we got to go home then?
You don't have to go home, but bear in mind we have got a 24-hour race to prepare for tomorrow, so
I will get excited.
A bit of sleep might be wise.
That might be a good idea. Otherwise, we might start talking nonsense, and that's never happened before.
Of course not. We're professionals here on RadioLeMans.com. That's an Audi TT, isn't it?
It was.
On
I think
on
was
a pit lane.
Was that a TT-R rest? It was the 209 car, the Besseplace car, and pit lane, and that is indeed an Audi TT-RS sitting outside the pit garage.
By the way, despite our slightly wayward conversations away from exactly what's happening in this session, you've missed nothing, because the 12 car is still fastest, having set a 159.955 a little earlier on. So that's the Manthey Porsche, and the 16 car still second fastest with a 2 minutes .290.
In fact, two things I have noticed. We already know that the number 5 car, the second of the WRT Audis, will now be in Pro, because it beat the 203 bogey time, if you like, in qualifying. It's done so again. Another car that's actually beaten that bogey time is the number 17 car. It's done it this evening. It's again, actually, it's the 2 cars, isn't it, that did it in qualifying, because the 17 car has done a 201 this evening. So just looking for anybody else that is under that 203, and there are none. But we don't have at the moment on our screens, Johnny, because there are 2 A6 AM. There's an A6 Pro-Am and an A6 AM. A6 Pro-Am, the bogey time is 203. A6 AM is 205.
Yes.
So we'll bring you that news before race starts as to whether or not anybody else has been reclassified overnight. That does sound complex. We'll make it a lot easier once we can actually see the cars on what's going to be a vast grid for this Hankook Dubai 24 Hours 2017.
And the entry list, because things change so readily here at this Dubai 24 Hours, and I've learnt this after only coming here for the 2 previous years. This is my 3rd time here in the Middle East for this season opener event, but that's the entry list very fluid until really tomorrow morning, when Natasha hands us a hard copy of the official entry list, on which we can tell you whether A6 cars are pros, Pro-Am or proper Ams.
Yes, indeed, and the nuances of that will become obvious as we get into the race, and we're probably going to leave the actual nuances of that to the man best able to describe it, and he's not with us quite yet, and that's Paul Truswell.
Yes, indeed so.
It is complicated, but the teams do understand it, and it doesn't get in the way of great racing. It simply doesn't.
The news as far as the 165 car, not positive, I'm afraid, Graham. Bruce Jones can tell us a little more.
Yeah, I clocked up a quick kilometre down the pit lane to find out. Well, the first sign, car not in garage. Second sign, team not in garage. But the telling sign was me. Their team awning at the back, where they had all their catering, has been packed away. So I'm afraid the 165 Team Clio Cup France entry, which was supposed to be for Eric Treboulay, Jeremy Claret, Teddy Claret, Jeremy Sahi and Pascal Arellano, is defunct. So over and out. They were the second one out, along with 240.
That's very sad.
It is indeed.
We don't like to see that at any point in a race meeting, and certainly not before the cars manage to turn competitive laps. So unlucky, I'm afraid, for that team. Hopefully we'll see them back next year. Thanks very much indeed, Bruce, for filling what I promise is the last gap in our knowledge set about what happened ultimately to some of the cars we were missing on track earlier in the sessions today. So 24 minutes to go before both 8 o'clock in the evening here in Dubai, the Dubai Autodrome, full darkness of course, and the end of this final free practice session, the night session. I promise we won't ask Bruce to check with every team whether or not they put the teams through the drivers, because I think if I did, there might be a crack of a rifle from the end of that pit lane and just a chink of glass in the pit limit here before I slump to the floor.
This, by the way, on the live stream is the number 24 car, which is 25th at the moment, rather than being the other way around. The car number is 24. Its position in night practice is 25th.
That is the Vortex. That's the Vortex V8 that we were decrying his slightly ungentlemanly behaviour in the pit lane earlier. The car back out and running. Alexandre Cogny at the wheel of the 24. And his second quickest tonight in the SPX class. Actually, look, yes, it is second quickest in SPX. 207.415, its best effort. Still only the one car, as Johnny was saying a little earlier. Sven Müller putting the number 12 Porsche under the 2-minute mark much earlier in the session. So 12 from 16, 9-11, 4, 29, 76, 17, 3, 5 and 2. The top 10 as we approach the final 20 minutes of free practice running.
Yeah, Vortex V8 as a team actually have 2 cars here this weekend, don't they? They have the Vortex 1, which is the one we just were on board with, and then the old school, as I would like to call it, the GC automobile, which has recently become known as the Vortex V8.
Okay.
But that's the silhouette car that looks a little bit like a BMW, but underneath it's the tubular space frame chassis GC automobile GC10, they call it.
Now looks like a Vortex V8. Oh, no, it's 203. 203 still, yes, indeed. By the way, I'm guessing that they're doing this as a bit of a practice, but the Hofer Racing crew are changing brake discs.
Oh, yes. So they are in front of the V8 Racing
front discs only, but that car has just had new discs installed.
Okay, let's hope they've repaired the headlight as well. And that car looks like it's about to head back into the session, having been lowered from its internal jacks. There's a Honda Integra coming down the road. That's the 570 car that we've already mentioned in recent times. It's the ever-present car.
Yep, that's the first or second lap 57 car, depending on whether or not you're looking at a timing order or it's numerical.
570's better place, is that what you're saying?
570 is the one that set a time, but it's the...
And the 57.
It's the bigger number.
Has had problems, yes.
Yes.
Also on pit road is the 14 Audi, I notice, which is in 13th position. Really was up there, troubling pole position in the earlier session. And the Optimum Motorsport car, I remember going particularly well at Mugello last year. Familiar names certainly being assigned to that car. Joe Osborne, Flick Haig and Ryan Ratcliffe, who on my entry list being called as English, he's very definitely not. He's definitely Welsh, is Ryan. And Christopher Haase is the... Now, has Christopher raced with Optimum before? I'm not sure that he has.
No, we'd have to check that, because Optimum, of course, have done a couple of more special races and therefore might well have had an Audi wheelman from time to time. Certainly did. I seem to recall they had an Audi factory driver at Mugello last year.
I don't remember it being Chris, though, but I might be wrong. Somebody be able to tell me. But yeah, he's there because of the Audi connection.
Just to confirm, I think a degree of confusion, we can confirm the 165 and the 240 will not start. No news yet that the 10 won't. The car is in the process of a comprehensive rebuild, but there's certainly no news that that car is a withdrawal.
Okay.
25 and 57, meanwhile, absolutely no indication they've got anything other than intended to be on the at the start of the race, and will start for the back of the grid, presumably.
On the live stream, had a good look around the number 1 car there with its brand new brakes, although the bonnet is now up on that Hofer Racing car, I notice. Back to Bruce Jones in the pit lane.
Still trying to get the 2 headlights to work on the number 1 Mercedes. I spotted it quite a long time ago. Yes, we've had the pad change and disc change out in the pit lane for it, but it's the headlights that are troubling them. But a few garages away, the number 14 Audi came in and they were working, that's the Joe Osborne car, working on getting their extra bar of lights adjusted. For a lot of the teams, if it's the first time they've run a car here, that's not the case with that particular one, the 14 Audi. It's just about getting the bar of lights to help the drivers. It's very dark in parts at the back of the track.
Yes, and that's something that you can do in night practice. You'd prefer to be doing in night practice rather than the race itself, which is focusing those headlights. I suppose each of your drivers in the combination may like to be peering at a different part of the circuit. Not radically different, obviously, but you just maybe just want to tweak or get some kind of some mix between the 4 or 5 drivers' opinion on where those lights should be. Great.
Well, we heard yesterday from Bradley Ellis when he was in woes with the lights on his Ginetta that not having the right-hand headlamp is a major issue here. You just can't spot where the turning points are. Meanwhile, while that's all been happening, we've got a new fastest time of the session. It's gone to the number 3 Black Falcon Mercedes. Who's in the car, Paul? And welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, Berman. I kind of went out lovely dinner. Thank you very much, Creventic, for laying on that. That was delicious. I came back and I was looking at the times. Thought, well, nobody's gone any quicker. And I was staring at the time to see kind of who was the next and the best of the rest. And then all of a sudden, Jelmer Berman stomps in the fastest lap of the night so far in the number 3 Black Falcon Mercedes. One of the things we were discussing over dinner was who do we fancy for the race, and I sort of said, well, you kind of think of Precoat Porsche, but really Dubai is Mercedes-Benz stomping ground, and it's not like other Creventic races, this one, and so you kind of would do very badly if you overlook Black Falcon, and I think Jelmer Berman there has just illustrated the case. He's gone out, he's done one single flying lap. That was the only lap he did, which was the fastest lap of the session. The car had been driven 4 laps by Hubert Haupt, many of which were, or not many of which, 2 of which were under the code 60. Then Al Faisal took over. He handed the car over to Michael Bronchevsky, and then Bronchevsky handed it over to Berman. Berman's the 4th driver of... That's actually a 5-driver team, isn't it? Because you've got Mauro Engel as well still to come in that car. So Mauro might even go, probably won't go quicker than Jelmer, but certainly they've got another quick driver lined up there. So that car has gone very, very quickly. And of course, remember the car that set the fastest time in qualifying, the number 2 Black Falcon Mercedes. I just wonder whether we're going to be seeing something similar from that car in the next 20 minutes or less than that, 15 minutes or so now.
Well, just keeping an eye on the pace on this lap, particularly for the number 4 Audi, going quicker than it's been before. That is currently 5th quickest, and indeed, as I say, that goes up to 3rd quickest, 2 minutes, 0.1 dead for the number 4. And who's aboard the number 4 at the moment, Paul? It's Christopher Meese. I can see over your shoulder, Christopher Meese. One final update, by the way, and with thanks to Clive Rowland on Twitter. Indeed, that number 10 car has had major woes. Big crash for that car earlier. Jake Rattenbury right to what looks like Facebook. Was it Instagram? It's Instagram. The team have had to actually source a completely different car. The lap 57 car is off, and that is... That's
the Civic.
Fettel Civic.
Yes. So that's the new engine. With the new engine.
And that doesn't
which is smoking.
Oh dear.
That's not right at all.
No, they're not meant to do that.
Are you sure that's the new engine? I really hope it's not after all that hard work. But we've just seen the Integra DC5 come down pit road. My immediate thought it was that, but that's definitely Civic shape. And it's the 57 rather than the 570 car. Now, where is that on the circuit, Graham?
That's because it's a back straight.
It's directly ahead of us.
Directly straight, so it's straight ahead of us. So it's obviously getting up to about VMAX there and has pulled off the circuit. That's not good.
So it's the long straight between turns 9 and 10.
Yep, and pulled off driver's right.
Probably about halfway or a third of the way down that straight.
Now let's have a quick look. Has that car just gone out, Paul? As they were in the midst of an engine change when Bruce was with them a little while ago.
Let's just see what Bruce knows about this incident. Well, is that a new engine, do we think?
Well, do so, but the mechanics were still standing at the back of the garage, sort of going, well, job done. Well, I'm a bit too far away, I'm losing my signal. And then, suddenly they became animated and came running out towards the front of the garage, but it doesn't sound as though the car's coming back to them anytime soon, so you really have to feel for the 57 crew, that Honda TCR with the new engine. Maybe something wasn't quite fitted right, who knows, but let's hope it's something that can be fixed overnight. They'll be short on night laps, of course.
Yes, it was. It's out lap indeed, as you were just saying. So a little bit of sign language clarity for later on. If we do that, that means out lap.
Excellent.
Very good,
Thank you very much.
Which is waggling your finger in a circular motion.
International sign language added to by the day.
To indicate the O or the circle that we get against everybody's name when they're on an out lap on our screen. So that makes sense.
Indeed. Right. Should say, by the way, the theoretical fastest time now for the number 4 car, with a couple of very quick first sectors, is a 1:59.8, but 2 minutes 0.1 is where the 4 is in the overall order. The progress, by the way, with that number 10 car, the team have sourced another car. They're going to work. That's what we then saw, was either the old car stripped back or the new car in the process of actually being built up. My guess is the latter. The engine appears to be back in that car now, and they're going to work through the night to hopefully get out tomorrow for the race, starting with the back of the grid. So another bit of heroics, and we've got another yellow flag, this time at turn 13-40, and a very slow car coming into pit lane. Yellow flags being waved. Behind it, it's one of the touring cars.
That is the 57, I think.
Yeah, 57, but there's another car was coming in very slowly.
Not on a tow rope. Okay.
Not on a tow rope. It might just be no drama. But that is one of the Ultron Peugeots. That is the 908 car. But seemed to be very slowing down. Maybe he slowed down because it was wave yellows, of course. I do apologise. It might well be just that. But in comes the slightly stricken, let's hope slightly stricken, lap 57 Civic. Good. Well, you know what, Bruce Jones is quite right. That's a cracking little livery by Andy Blackmore on both cars this year. And the number 4 Audi, by the way, having set the fastest first sector time of the session on its previous lap, has just pitted, having set the fastest middle sector of the session, which brings its theoretical fastest time down to a 1:59.6. Just about half a tenth back from the best potential time of the session, and set by the number 12 car, which is currently second fastest overall. So the number 3 from the 12 from the 4 is the top 3. 12 minutes to go to the end of night practice. That 57's Civic TCR delivered back to the loving arms of its team.
You mentioned the Team Altron Peugeots. I need to remember that they've been renumbered effectively to classic Peugeot numbers, 308 and 908, but they've always in the past been 205 and 208. 208 obviously to match the model number. They still are 208 GTIs, I believe, and probably the same chassis.
I believe so.
Yeah. Just a number change.
They've just done it to confuse us.
Well, yeah, they have, but that's fine because it keeps the brain active.
Terrible, you know, absolutely keeps us on our toes.
Yep, quite right too. So 57 car being wheeled back into the garage now, and I hope when they lift the bonnet on that car that the issue is not as terminal as it may appear to us mere commentators. They've worked so hard on that lap 57 car. The other one is doing okay, the 570, and obviously is outperforming it in terms of the times because the 57 has barely put any laps in. 10 minutes and 50 seconds to go of night practice.
Flown by those 50 minutes since you came on air, Johnny. Lots going on. Not necessarily the quickest of laps, although we have seen a quicker lap time in the second half of the session. That going to the number 3, Black Falcon, Yelmer Berman.
So 57 car being wheeled into the garage. Various other issues just being ironed out. We can cross to Bruce Jones, though, who is now joined from the number 3 garage by Yelmer Berman.
I only speak to the quickest drivers, you know. Yelmer, that looked very good because it wasn't a long run you did there. Out, quick lap, in again.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be, right? No, I mean, car felt really good. And obviously, with that many cars on track, you have to be a bit lucky with where you enter the track, which cars are around you. And my first lap was pretty much clear, so I made full use of it. And had a good time. And car felt good, so just did my qualifying laps. to be able to start the race, and brought the car back in, and that was it.
Now, obviously, Black Falcon know the Mercedes AMG very well. How good are the headlights? Because certain parts of the circuit, you see a lot of teams here coming and working on their headlights, adjusting. Are you satisfied with how much light you're getting?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, with these cars, we've got a lot of experience because we did 24-hour Nürburgring, 24-hour Spa. We've done a lot of testing in the dark as well. So that's all good. I mean, here it's a bit different because the most tracks we go to are permanently dark. And here you've got some corners which are light. And that makes it actually more difficult because once you've driven from the light into the dark again, you have to readjust, and sometimes you struggle a bit. But from that point of view, it's for everyone the same.
Oh, that was the sister car going out. So obviously, Jelmer just does 2 laps. That's all he does in the dark. Anyhow, good luck in the race.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bruce nearly taken out by a tyre trolley there. We didn't see the end of that shot, but I hope
Who's behind me?
I didn't hear a loud bump, so everything's, I'm sure, fine.
But a nifty footwork, I think, was required at that point there. That was just, we moved away from the camera just before what could have been, you know, one of those things for the Christmas tape.
Well, I'll send that into you, been framed, and probably get 200 quid for it. He's still on his feet, unreliably informed.
Excellent. Second fastest time in the 991 class of the evening goes to the number 69 car. Right now, 8 minutes to go in the session, and the 69 car, as I flick through the extensive entry list, is one of the Black Falcon who was aboard the 69 to set that time. That's 2:07.499, 3/10 back from the quickest time in class set this evening by the 92 car.
Yeah, Black Falcon here with 5 cars this year. The 2 and the 3 we've mentioned an awful lot about. We've got 2 cars entered in the 991 class, being the Porsche Cup class, so they're labelled as Black Falcon Team TMD Friction, and in fact a third car, TMD Friction as well, which is the SP3 GT4 Cayman.
Yep, greedy I call it, greedy.
It's a very busy garage, I'll tell you that much.
Cracking team. We spotted in the early years of Radio Le Mans doing the Nürburgring 24 Hours, Paul, just how splendid those Black Falcon cars, whichever class they were entered in. It was BMWs in the early years with Black Falcon. And just what a standard apart they were.
There are some teams that just don't ever stop making lists. However long you get through your list, there's always something else to add on to the bottom of the list. And there are some teams that say, oh, okay, we're finished now. Others just keep going, keep going, keep going. And Black Falcon's one of those that always give you something else to do, and that's why you always improve, and that's why they then reach the level that they're currently at.
Methodical, I think, is the answer. I mean, Sean-Paul Breslin, who's the team manager at Black Falcon, previously a customer driver and indeed VLN champion with the squad, and Black Falcon pretty genius at working through what is a fiercely complicated rule book at the Nürburgring's long distance championship, and for many years executed beautifully the rule that basically said you get more points for being the winning car in the largest class. Whether or not that's the fastest class, it didn't matter. And Sean Paul, an overall champion, I believe, remembering correctly, in the VLN Championship some years ago, by dint of them entering a very well prepared BMW saloon car in a very large class.
Yes, quite. Always good to read the rule book so you know what you're doing, where you're at. So with 5 minutes to go in the session, I would suggest we keep our eyes on that number 2 Black Falcon Mercedes, having lauded Black Falcon. They went out very, or in the qualifying session, and Tyrone Blaker-Molen set a very quick time. The car number 2 is already on its way. The number 3, I think, is just going out at the moment. But I suspect that Tyrone Blaker-Molen will be, he's come straight back into the pits. So that was a surprise. Went up, got a full tank of fuel, went round and has come straight back in at the end of his outlap. They're going to put a new set of tyres on the car, and then they're going to send him out, and then he's going to do his flying lap. So stand by.
Oh, well, getting out the car. He's getting out the car.
Is he?
There's a driver change. They're doing a pit stop practice.
Okay, simulation.
This Paul, is exactly what you're talking about. This is part of the list.
Yeah. Our man in the pit lane, Bruce Jones, can tell us a little more about the number 3 car that you've just seen leave. Because there was something special about that. They're pushing on, are they not, for the last few minutes, do we think?
Oh, absolutely. The brand new set of tyres, the ones that nearly knocked me over after interviewing Jelmer Burman, have been applied to the car. I can't tell you who's in it because it's very dark down here, and I was getting out of the way of number 2 as it came in. But it's a very busy garage. 5 driver entries. They need their night laps. But being who they are, they want the fastest lap as well. So they've got it at the moment with number 3, with Jelmer Berman. But let's see, whoever's on board number 3 now should be setting a pretty quick time, I'd say.
It's Maro Engel at the wheel of the
there you go.
number 3 at the moment.
That'll do it.
Blake Molan at the wheel of the 2, who has gone out again, hasn't he? Yes. So
that's why Bruce Jones is the top pro that he is, because what we should have noticed there, Johnny, as we were laughing at his potential misfortune, is there were new tyres being wheeled to the front of the garage.
Yes.
And as he was bundled to the floor cruelly,
yes,
under a stack of Hancocks, what he spotted as he lapsed into unconsciousness was that they were brand new. Fantastic.
Ever the journalist, and he spotted exactly the key thing that was going on, which was they were changing tyres, where we were just sniggering in the corner, frankly.
Absolutely. As he's wheeled on the gurney to the ambulance, he's there commenting on the tyre choice. Fabulous stuff from Bruce Jones.
Well, I think it's been Black Falcon that will get the last laugh here, because they're already looking very quick as far as their time of a 1:59.933. Can they be in the top 2?
Well, yes, they will. I don't think there's any doubt about it, because the track is now virtually empty. You look at the number of P's indicating cars in the pits going down our screen. Nearly everybody is in the pits. We've got both the Black Falcon cars are out. We do have the number 16 Optimum Motorsport Audi out. We also have the 14 Optimum Motorsport Audi and the 16 Lance David Arnold, Tom Onslow, Cole Mercedes out. So there are a couple of quick cars out there, but the track is virtually empty, so every opportunity for improvements in time.
Indeed. Let's watch the closing minutes. Under 3 minutes to go to the top of the session, then the end of the session rather. Just those 2 cars under 2 minutes this evening. The number 3 Black Falcon Mercedes-Benz, and the number 12 Porsche Sven Müller, setting that time earlier in the session, first hour I think that was, wasn't it, the Montai racing car for the young, one of the newest additions, of course, the Porsche factory driver squad.
Yes, it was, and surprisingly to me at least, Matteo Caroli wasn't able to, didn't go quicker. He might have been able to, but he didn't go quicker. So it was Sven Müller who was the quickest. That looks like a Mercedes coming.
No, it's the number 4
for Audi, isn't it?
We're confused by that as we get tired,
confused by
aren't we?
the big number 3 and the small number 4.
Yes, indeed. If you're watching on the video screen, that's the way you read it. It's the position of the car, and the order is the big number on the right-hand side, bottom corner, and the small number in front of the team name is the running number for the car. So, number 3, Mercedes-Benz, is out on track and going quickly. Number 2, Mercedes-Benz, is on the, well, in fact, I guess it's out lap for 1 shot at a very quick time. We have under 2 minutes on the clock. So under 2 minutes before 8 o'clock in the evening here at the Dubai Autodrome.
So the number 2 in the final sector somewhere and shaping up, raring to go for one final push, and over the line it goes now then. So the number 3 car currently fastest in night practice. Remember, this isn't qualifying, it's separate from qualifying, it's purely to get night laps in and also just some experience in darkness hours. But as far as bragging rights are concerned, Black Falcon would love to finish this 2-hour session 1 and 2.
Number 3 car crosses the line now to start its final flying lap. Number 2 car has done the same. So under a minute to go before we see the checkered flag from the timing stand beneath us.
And there is a Porsche, the number 80 car, working its way down pit lane now.
33rd in the overall order, and running well up in the 991 class, that car.
And the 2 cars gone green through the first sector of 40.573.
And quicker still is the number 3 car with a 39.991. Oh, this could be fun.
So these aren't absolute best times for this session through sector 1, but they're very, very impressive.
But bear in mind, the 39.991 is a faster time than the fastest car overall has done in that sector. So it may not be ultimately the quickest sector 1 time, but it's quicker than the fastest sector done by the car that set the fastest lap this evening. Green again for the number 2 car in sector 2.
As the checkered flag is waved, so technically that's the end of the session, but if you're already on a quick lap, if you've crossed the line before the checkered flag came out, then this lap will count on the final classification for night practice. And this is a very interesting end to the 2 hours. Can the number 2 car join its sister at the top end of the times?
It is, at the moment, on the first 2 sectors, it is over half a second up on its best time. It doesn't do so.
No.
It finishes 7th quickest. It's a 2:01.303 for the number 2 car.
Still very good, though. Still a very good time for the number 2 car to receive the checkered flag now.
Number 3 car moments away from it and does not improve. It's a 1:59. It's a 2 minutes, 0.169, apologies. So it doesn't improve, but retains the fastest time this evening, goes into bedtime before the 24 Hours of Dubai tomorrow with a top time in session.
I'm surprised by that, to be honest, Graham. I would have expected somehow that it was Khalid Al-Kubaisi at the wheel of the number 2. That was why, because they changed the driver. Jerome Blakemolen got out of the car.
He did.
Khalid Al-Kubaisi got back in, and that will explain, without being rude, as Johnny was saying, it was a good time, but it wasn't quite Blakemolen's standard of time. But Blakemolen got out of the car, and Al-Kubaisi got in. I wonder if that's to rehearse their final pit stop before the end of the race tomorrow. The time finishing up then with just the 2 cars under 2 minutes, as opposed to during the qualifying session when we ended up with 15 cars under 2 minutes in the qualifying session.
But it's
earlier
dark
this evening. Don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think it's merely the effort being put in to set a quick lap. There'll be more concern on these laps about ensuring that they can see the braking points.
Indeed.
And ensuring that they can see the apexes and making sure that they're comfortable with the amount of lighting. John Hindhoff was talking earlier on about the
blue lights,
ambient light inside the car. That's not the ambient light. The ambient light is the outside. The interior lighting. That kind of thing. That's what they'll have been concentrating on in that session, rather than necessarily going for quick times, I think, Johnny.
Yeah, it's ergonomic efficiency rather than as opposed to the potential dazzle you'll get. And we've got a lot of guys who will be actually in these cars in darkness for the very first time, Johnny.
Thank you, Graham. It's been a really interesting session, that. A chance now on the live stream to have a look back over the last...